Call the meeting to order at 6:33. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Berman,
Here.
Trustee Blueheart,
Here.
Trustee McNeil,
Here.
Trustee Pierce,
Present.
Trustee Mason,
Here.
Trustee Peterson,
Present.
Mayor Gardner.
Present. All the trustees are here. Mayoral reports. At this time, really nothing that no community events other than, I think, Treat the Streets is this weekend. So hopefully you come out and support the businesses this weekend. I think the football team is undefeated and they probably start the playoffs too. So wish them good luck. Other than that, we have some people signed up for citizens to address the board. Trick or treating is on Halloween from 4 to 7, I believe. You can be there.
Dressed up, sir.
Right.
As an attorney, right?
Yeah.
So scary.
So typically for citizens wishing to address the board, I'll have everybody come up and you have 3 minutes and talk. I've made a decision on this tonight for item number 3, which is the item I'm looking for? 5. Item number 5 on the regular agenda regarding the ordinance regarding liquor licenses within the village of Antioch. Anybody on that topic, I'm gonna let them speak during the topic up here. So if there's anybody speaking pro or against, we'll take the comments at that time. So I believe that leaves one person for public comments. Yep.
The opportunity to speak to the board is provided for members of the public who have a comment to make about the business of the board. The board appreciates hearing from stakeholders and values your thoughts and questions. The board strives to make the best decisions for the village, and public input is very helpful. The board must protect the civility and decorum of this meeting. Please be respectful for the duties of the board and the democratic process in your comments tonight. Please state your name and address your comments to the board. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please be factual and courteous, and the board requests that you not make statements that are personally disrespectful or condescending to members of the board or staff. To the extent multiple speakers are addressing a single issue, the mayor reserves the right to limit the number of speakers making public comment of a repetitive nature and/or limit the amount of time for public comment. The board does not respond to comments or attempt to answer questions during the public comment period. Looks like Joey Haley. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Joey Haley. My address is 604 Indian Ridge Drive. And I'm here to talk about the concrete streets that we have in the woods of Antioch. Before I do that, I want to just announce that last week I was appointed as our HOA vice president. That will go into effect January 1st. And I'm just here to show face, to show that I will be your main point of contact for this topic. I do want to thank Administrator Kime, Public Works Director Dennis Heinbrough, Engineer Tim Hartnett. We met a few weeks back regarding this topic of our concrete streets, the current condition, along with hopefully some forward progress we can make together with the village and as an HOA to come up with a resolution for our streets. The current situation is not good. We know it's not good. I also want to say thank you to the village trustees. I reached out to all of you. All of you reached back out to me, so thank you for that. Some of you we've talked to on the phone. Some of you came to my house physically and toured the roads with me, and you've got to experience our roads firsthand. Again, it's not a good situation. We've got kids that have popped tires. We've got kids that have flipped over their scooters. We've got parents pushing strollers across the street from sidewalk to sidewalk, getting stuck on separated concrete potholes. There's probably a pothole at almost every panel in concrete that we have in our road. So we also have a collapsing concrete on Ridgewood Drive. If you've not been to our streets, I encourage you to take a tour of that and get a firsthand experience of what they look like now. Some of the cul-de-sacs, again, we got separating concrete that's happening. But ultimately, it looks like that you will all be presented with a few options. I don't know when this is going to come to an agenda, but I hope it comes soon. But my only ask is that when it does, that I'll have the opportunity to speak during that meeting again. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to the regular business agenda. First item is consideration and approval of payments of accounts payable as prepared by staff in the amount. Oh, sorry. Uh, First item is the consent agenda. Approval of the October 11th, 2023 regular meeting minutes as presented. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second,
Motion trustee Bluthart, second trustee Berman. Roll call, please.
Berman,
yes.
Luther,
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes.
Pierce,
Aye.
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. All right, now to the regular business consideration and approval of payments of accounts payable as prepared by staff, the amount of $394,440.64. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Motion trustee Berman,
Second,
second trustee Peterson. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Berman,
yes.
Luther.
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes.
Pierce,
Aye.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Next item is consideration and approval of an ordinance deleting and adding one Class C retail package sales liquor license and one Class A and Class C tobacco license for KP Antioch Inc., DBA Antioch Food and Liquor to be located at 354 North Avenue to reflect a change in corporate ownership. Ordinance number 23-09-26. Do I have a motion and a second waiving the second reading?
So moved, waiving the second reading.
Motion trustee Bluthart,
Second,
second trustee McNeil. Any discussion about this? Roll call, please.
Berman,
yes.
Luther.
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes.
Pierce,
No.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Right, 5 voting yes, motion carries. Next item is consideration and approval of an ordinance adding one more Class B and Class C tobacco license for R&D number 12 Inc. to be located at 320 East Illinois Route 173. Ordinance number 23-09-25. Do I have a motion and a second waiving the second reading?
So move waiving second reading.
Motion trustee McNeil, second trustee Masek. Any discussion about this item?
Yes.
Trustee Peterson?
This is the other smoke shop, correct?
Correct.
Up by the currency exchange.
Correct.
We already have one. It's very close to the high school. There is no age limit for kids going in and out of there, and he did tell us that he's going to sell THC products. When we asked him at this meeting, at the meeting that he was at, so I'm not in favor of this at all.
Any other comments or discussion?
I would agree, got some products that are being sold in Antioch that we gotta take care of, that are being sold. So I can't remember the one that people buy for pain that's got some bad side effects that our doctors are just saying it's just a no-no. But way too close to the high school. Once we open the door on this, then they're gonna potentially put stuff in the windows. You're gonna be sitting at the stoplight. You're gonna be seeing whatever in the window. I don't think it's a good sight. A lot of people use McDonald's. A lot of people use Taco Bell, Burger King. I just think it's just not a good look for a school. That would be like, we had restrictions on tobacco for the Squire, not selling cigarettes back in the day, because that was too close to the school. So this doesn't even make sense. So Squire couldn't do it when Spiro had that, because he wanted it one time years ago back when that was open. Then we allowed Walgreens to do it, and Walgreens started whatever. But no, I'm against this.
I have to, since we're going backwards, I guess. I have to agree. It's way too close to the school. The product line is not something I think is appropriate for Antioch. And I think this is too premature to even have it before the board, as we have, I think, beginning discussions about those product lines in the committee of the whole afterwards. So why would we approve something that we're gonna discuss afterwards? So I am not in favor of this, because I think that some of the products that are being sold in the smoke shops these days tend to be on the more predatory level than anything else. So I would be a no.
I agree about it being premature. I think it's
Flip the script.
yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a motion and a second, so let's call a roll call. There was a motion to approve waiving the second reading, correct?
Berman,
I'm sorry.
We're voting
So we're voting as,
Well, we'll vote as right.
either
yeah,
to approve or deny.
either approve or deny this
oh,
application.
no,
Luther,
No.
McNeil,
no,
Pierce,
No.
Mason,
No,
Peterson,
No,
6 voting no, motion fails. Next item is number 5, consideration and approval of an ordinance amending section 4-2B-10 of the Antioch Village Code regarding classifications of liquor licenses within the village of Antioch, Illinois. Gas station on premises consumption ordinance number 23-09-27. I'm sure there's discussion about this item and questions. Is there any?
I'll make, so we can get on the floor.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to deny with out prejudice so that if they come up with a plan, a better plan later, we can re-accept it within the year.
Right, I have a motion from trustee Pierce to deny with prejudice, without prejudice for 1 year. That correct?
Yes, because we have an ordinance in place. If we deny something, they have to wait a year
Sure.
before they
No,
come back
understood.
unless we specifically say if they
Okay.
they can come back at,
Right.
at a later date.
All right,
I'll second.
all right, there's a second from trustee Peterson. All right, so it's for those up here, it's flipped from, obviously the normal voting procedure. I think what I'd like to do is, I know there are 2 people that have signed up on here for the citizens wishing to address the board. I'm sure as the discussion begins, there are going to be others. Is there anybody that wants to sign up now to be able to address this item? All right. What's that? Regarding the liquor code, yeah. All right. If not, discussion by the board, obviously the petitioner, both Mr. Darney and Mr. Judge, who owns one of the businesses that would be affected by this item, are both here to speak. They've given some information to the board members prior to the meeting. Before we call a vote, is there anybody that wants to discuss any of these items?
Is it possible to hear
Of course.
them first before we have our
I
discussion?
think you only got one. Mr. Judge isn't on this petition right now. It's just one petition.
He signed up to speak on.
He came up to speak, but he's not part of this.
Yeah, he's not part of the petition. He's just
Not part of the
speaking on, speaking on this item. So this is the only petitioner right now is Mr. Darney. So but it's a text amendment to the code, so it would affect both of you, but you're both welcome to speak, whatever order.
Thanks for letting me speak. So I want to make it clear that this is a request we added for changing a liquor license so that we can have gaming. Because of the gas volume has affected us because the taxes in Illinois is way too high. Everybody is driving over for the gas. And then there was a confusion that the Shell gas station, there's a new coming up across the border that I have any interest, I don't have any interest in, and it's a different brand. And then somebody, I don't know who owns that thing, but that will be coming next year, and that will affect us more. And then we will lose maybe another 20% more, right? So we already lost a lot of volume, and I have provided you, everybody, the information, the volume I was doing before the tax, Illinois tax changes. So now the volume I have from the last month to how much is doing. So it's like almost like 60% right now off. And then we already have a lottery, which is similar to the video gaming. So we have it for so long. It's just a different type of lottery. And then we are just targeting the lottery people only so that they have the options to do the gaming. And then with the lottery, village doesn't get any tax revenue. But with the gaming, there will be additional revenue for the village too, for the taxes, which we have lost due to the gas taxes. Any other questions you guys have for me? Questions?
I was gonna wait to hear from
Okay.
the other gentleman.
You can explain what your tax revenue on with your sheets of paper.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, you gotta, because there's people on Zoom. Then I need you just to address by the
All right.
microphone.
So the volume is on the two sheets in the, yeah. You see, I've written December and then also like 2023 September there.
For the people on Zoom, you want to read what you gave us so they understand?
Okay, I can give it to you.
You got a copy or you want?
You can have, you can have mine. You can have mine.
The volume we were doing in December 2017 is like close to like 75,000 gallons. The amount of gallons we're doing in last month is like 28,000.
Any other questions, Mr. Downey? Mr. Judge, do you want to say anything? Okay.
Thank you to the board members for allowing me to speak. I have similar issue where gallons are about 40 to 50% down. On top of it, there's a state mandate coming up that's going to make us spend at least 300 to 500,000 at our location to update our fuel lines and possibly fuel tanks. Also, we would have to install, it's called a under dispenser containment bucket, which in case there's a leak, the bucket contains the leak and there's sensors and stuff. And all that is coming up in 2028, but we don't want to wait till 2028. We would have to spend that kind of money by 2026, because if you wait, you're kind of getting in the line and there's like 2 or 3 people, like companies who would do that kind of work. And we would basically have to sign a contract and they're year out to do that kind of work. And we will be down 4 to 5 weeks just to do that. And that kind of money that when you're spending, you don't even see on the site because it's underground. But our location is kind of different than any other station because we're under canopy. And whenever we do, we're gonna have to rip off all the concrete, asphalt. And if we were to do that, I would make a bigger store because we have property next door. And if we are honored, like we got help from gaming revenue, we could go ahead and spend extra amount of money in our store and make that corner bright. We did have that plan back in 2019 when we were doing gallons of 175,000 a gallon a month. Now we're doing like barely 90,000. Again, I wanna be like just dedicated to Antioch, which I have been dedicated since 2004. I want to be even more dedicated for next 25 years because I have other properties in Antioch that I like to invest, and I have been investing. And slowly, I spend more than half of my life here helping customers and trying to do better business day to day. But this tax thing really hurt us, and I or I can't invest more money in same location if there's no extra additional income. Not only gallons, we are losing a lot of inside store sales because cigarette manufacturers are going up like 3 or 4 times a year, where they used to go once a year, which is totally taking the sales away. We are also down 50%. If we see our dollar amount is probably the same, but like cigarette used to be $5, $6. Now it's $11. So if you sold like 100 packs a day, it would be $500. Today, if you sold 100 packs, it's $1,100. So that dollar amount doesn't help us. What helps us is the quantity. The quantity is shrinking. The credit card amount costs us more because credit card cost goes up. So if $500 a day credit card on cigarettes, now it's $1,100 credit card, it's costing us more. So overall, all the expenses are up, income is down, and we need to be in compliance from the state pretty soon. On top of it, I want to help putting a bigger store. So therefore, we are requesting if we could get a gaming, and that I could put that like dedicated amount towards the reinvestment again. And I'll be very transparent with the village. If I get X amount of money from gaming income, it'll be in separate account, and I'm willing to share that with every year. This is how much money we spent, made from this income, and this is how much we're reinvesting. So, but thanks for your
All
time.
right, thank you.
If
All
you
right.
guys have questions.
Sure. I'll start at this side of the board. If anybody wants to volunteer to go first or has any questions or concerns.
Yeah, I do have a few things to say. Oh, this one is a very, very, very tough one for me. I've stated to you guys before. I feel very, very sorry for you being in the business that you're in, because the state of Illinois, this state government,
Right,
does not care about you.
no,
Okay. And they've proven that by all the taxes that they've thrown at you and all the mandates. They, for instance, when it was mandated that you guys had to put a basically false advertising, basically campaigning for the governor, to tell that it was a tax cut, and it wasn't. It was just delayed. That is very upsetting to me. And then you have there's multiple layers to the gas taxes. Okay. And the state also mandates that you guys are not allowed to be transparent with your customers on that. You can't put an itemized list on receipts. You can't place a sign out there to warn customers about it. There's been a lot of things thrown at you guys, and I know that no matter whichever way I go with this, there is going to be upset people. And I hope you guys understand that I don't think what the state's doing is right. However, I need you to understand this next part that I'm going to say. If we continue, and I think it was you that had stated that it's not like you guys can go before the state government and do this.
we can only come home.
And you come to us, and the state, what the situation that we're in right now, I feel that state government, they made all these decisions, and it fell onto our shoulders. Okay. And that right now we're cleaning up the mess that the governor made, the state government. And if we were to do that, I feel that is not helping anybody. It's not, I know this sounds weird. It's not going to, in the long run, help you. It's not going to help anybody in the long run, because they're going to continue to do this. And we can't be that Band-Aid to fix everything that they're doing. This is why elections are important. It's affecting everybody. You guys, it's affecting middle class, the poor, everybody. And there's not going to be a state much longer if we continue down the path that we're going. And I feel that if we were to do this, vote in favor of this, it would only make the overall situation worse. And I believe that the way that they're taxing this, just like with cigarettes, is because state government wants to completely do away with it. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Trustee Luther.
Can I go home? No. I'm usually someone that can make his mind up very easily, and this has been an issue that I've been torn upon for weeks, if not months. And as I sit here now, I still don't know how I'm going to vote on it. I've talked or exchanged messages with both of you and with many others in the community, and this is about as 50-50 of an issue that I've ever seen in my life.
There's reasons to vote yes, there's reasons to vote no. And not to repeat what Trustee Berman said, but this is brought on you and us by the lovely people in Springfield and Waukegan that decided to increase our gas taxes when people are hurting, and in turn, not accounting for that with you businesses near the borders of states where it's going to hurt you the most. I would love to see our representatives in Springfield get involved in this and try to do something proactive to help the businesses along the border in these situations. But, you know, all those are long-term solutions. None of that's going to happen overnight. I have no objection to gaming. But just there's a lot of things that are making me just it's like a teeter-totter. 1 minute and 1 minute I'm a yes, the next minute I'm a no, and I hate to say it that way because this is your livelihood, and I'm not taking it lightly by any means.
It is our.
So I'm going to take some time and listen to the other trustees and the mayor if he decides to speak, or anyone else that wants us to speak on this issue, and hopefully do what's right for Antioch first, for you guys second. I have to look at what's best for Antioch, and right now I'm still on that fence. So I'm gonna withhold saying, well, I just said I don't know which way I'm voting at this point, but I will listen to the rest of you and hopefully hear something that makes me go one way or another. So
Can I
Thank you.
ask a quick question?
Sure.
Just, I don't know, it might help everybody else. Is there any way, I mean, obviously we can write a letter to the state. I'm not quite sure exactly what to say in it, but something along the lines of saying something that our local gas stations, the hurting. And maybe that will help them do something other than what they're doing and increasing the taxes. I mean, something's better than nothing at this point.
No, I agree. And I think this is a big Springfield issue. Trustee McNeil.
Sure. Okay, so like Trustee Bluthart, I've lost a lot of sleep over this. Nobody told me that was part of the job when I ran for the board. I thought the decisions would be a little bit easier to make, but I cannot believe sort of what a gray issue this is. So when you first came to the board, it seemed so simple. I'm new on the board. I thought, well, yes, of course, I want to help you. I can see you're struggling. I visit Sam's gas station regularly. There's nobody there. Everybody's over the border. You already sell lottery tickets. You already have a liquor license. There's a lot of reasons why it just makes sense to vote yes. And so I was pretty firm on that. And then I started hearing from, other people in the community, which is the beauty of our government. I appreciate the phone calls I've received. And one was a restaurant owner, and he's someone I respect a lot. He's a great community member and very involved, does a lot of community service. And he said, oh my gosh, we've worked so hard to get the gaming approved, and our restaurants, we really need this revenue. And if we give it to the gas stations, are we taking away from our great restaurant owners here? Are they going to start suffering? So I thought, oh my gosh, well, I didn't think about that. There's all these different things I'm learning from everybody. So I thought we better, pump the brakes at the last meeting and get some more information. So I did really have spent a lot of time, and I, like Trustee Bluthart, I've gone back and forth. I could argue this both ways all day long. So the first thing I did was I looked at the data, of the gaming revenue, like with every machine that we're adding, are we taking away from the restaurants? And it doesn't seem to be that way, with the exception of the COVID year. It's always, been trending upward. So then I reached out to other restaurant owners, and it's a mixed bag. Some are very much in favor of the gas stations. They're friends of yours. They see things you've done for the community. They're on board with this, but then I'll talk to a different restaurant owner and they still have these same concerns and fears. And one was more worried about, like, where are we going to go if there's so much gaming? Do we start to look like a little, Las Vegas aesthetically? What will happen with the community? So then I spent time going to gas stations that have gaming. I've been all over. My husband is sick of spending our date night weekends going to gas stations. So I've been to, there's one in Wakanda on 176. There's one on 120 in Chapel Hill Road. I've been to McHenry and Johnsburg. I've been to the Rock Corner one. I've been, kind of observing what does that demographic look like that comes to a gas station. And I don't know that it's the same person that's going, to our restaurant. So I think after all the research I've learned, we have to draw some sort of line with the gaming. You know, at some point, if we keep approving it, at what point will it be so saturated that we're not helping the restaurant owners? So even though they keep growing now, there will be a point where it's too much. And at what point do we go too far where we just don't look like Antioch anymore? It is that little Las Vegas feeling, but I'm still undecided because I don't know if we draw that line in the sand tonight and say, I'm so sorry, we feel for you, but we got to put a hard stop on this, or do we grant it and consider some sort of other, you know, cap where we're putting some sort of limits on this? It's just such a hard, you know, call. And I can't predict the future with the restaurants and things. I'm not convinced that they're going to lose revenue with the data and the people that I've spoken with, but I don't know the answers. And one thing I wanted to touch on too, just for some of the restaurant owners, is I've spent all this time at gas stations lurking around. I've noticed that the people that tend to come in there, I stopped by a few in the morning. There were people in their scrubs, you know. So I talked to them. I'm like, oh, what are you doing here at 10 a.m.? But they're working the overnight shift. So it's kind of like a different type of consumer who's, you know, one was a nurse and she's like, I've just finished my shift. I'm going to pick up some snacks and play $20. And so again, I don't know that it's the same, you know, restaurant, you know, people that we'd be taking with the restaurants. I don't know. And then I have heard, you know, about the aesthetics from people. Like they're very concerned. You know, when I look around, we've got it at the Piggly Wiggly, we've got it at the VFW. It's everywhere. But then on the flip side, I've talked to some friends and neighbors, and they're like, actually, we find it less offensive in the gas station because when we're out at the restaurants, we love them. We take our kids there, but then the kids are all like, can we play that game? It's loud, it's noise. So, you know, it's just such a hard, you know, judgment call with where do we go from here? And then I've heard from some of the retail owners, you know, clothing stores and things, you know, what about us? Can we get our liquor license? And so it's like, okay, well, if we vote on this, is that going to open them up to wanting things? So it's such a hard decision. So whichever way, I'm still undecided. I want to hear what the rest of the board has to say. You know, I'm leaning toward it, but there are so many other reasons to lean against it as well. Not so much for you, but just because of, are we setting that precedent, and where do we draw that line? So I'm sorry for rambling on, but I've really truly put my heart and soul into talking to restaurants, talking to both of you. Thank you for your time, and visiting so many gas stations. So
Yeah.
thank you. Yes, you're welcome. So that's all I have for now, but I am curious to see what the rest of the board has to say.
Trustee Pierce, everything?
Yeah, well, first of all, I have to say, the attorney that told me that I possibly could be wrong. It may have been a former board that passed the denial issue. So I could be wrong on that. But in the meantime, the reason I structured my motion the way I did was because I think these should be handled on a case-by-case basis. And if somebody's coming before the board and has this big package of improvements they're going to do, construction they're going to do, they have a plan, they're going to spend dollars, they're going to invest in the community, I think we should be willing to talk to them and see what they're going to do. If it's somebody coming before us that just wants to make some money off gambling, I can't agree with that. And I can't agree with the expansion of gambling. But I do want to, if somebody's going to be investing in our community, doing something, I want to figure out a way if we can work with them or not work with them, because it's very important that our community grows and is prosperous. Overall, I don't support gambling in gas stations. I think it's an expansion. I think it's moving into, okay, you know, a couple of years ago, we had a lady at a fingernail place that wanted to have a champagne license, so that she could serve champagne while she's doing the nails. And next thing you know, she'd be like going, well, why they're doing nails and they're waiting? They could be gambling too. Why can't I have them with my champagne and my nail polish job? You know, clothing stores, everybody could come to us and start asking. We're suffering financially. And believe me, I know everybody's suffering, and I see the traffic going across the border to get gas, and I think it's horrendous. I also see the increase in the alcohol sales that helps cover some of that at your store. I see the vaping sales that help cover the cost. I mean, my daughter buys a $20 vape. I'm like, are you kidding me? You know, when I was smoking cigarettes, you talk about the increase in cigarettes. I started smoking there $25 a pack, $1.50 for a cake, for a 10 pack, you know, whatever you used to call it, you know, a carton. There you go. It's been so long, you know, so I've seen how the prices increase. I'm glad I quit smoking before they were $11, $12 just for a pack of cigarettes. So I know how difficult it is for you guys. So I'm just, if you're gonna do something for the community, I want to see it and figure out a way we can work on it. If you're just wanting gambling to gamble and make some significant money off of it, I can't support the expansion of it. So that's kind of where I stand. Come to me and show me what you're going to do. Don't just ask for the money, the gambling. That's what I'm saying.
Trustee Masek?
Mine's an easy one. I don't judge morals. I don't judge anybody's morals. They want to sit at the machine. That's up to them. But when you do a law or when you pass an ordinance, you got to look at the spirit of it. Okay. The people that have been making the biggest noise, we don't want to give these gas stations licenses. They're not even meeting the ordinance. They're not even doing the amount of food. They want to keep the money to themselves, which, okay. But even Rebecca, you said it, that every time we added a machine, the village revenue went up. And I'm going to tell a story because I've been friends with Sonny, gosh, a long time. Sonny put some signs in when he had to go to the electric signs. The village dropped the ball on it. It's called the other guy that's no longer works for the village, dropped the ball. Cost Sonny 20 grand. $38,000 because the village dropped the ball on it. And he could have got the grant from BP to put the signs in. So it's 38,000 had to come out of his pocket. So he's got to put the new lines. Sam's got to do the same thing with the lines. Got to pull up all the tanks. That's an expense. So 60% less revenue. And all of a sudden, geez Louise, I got to pull up all the concrete. I got to take up all the tanks. I got to reline all my lines. I got to put all these safety features on EPA. But hold on. Now I got to pull up some pumps and possibly change them from gas to electric because now guy like me, and I've always bought gas at BP because I think, well, I don't want to exclude you because I do, but because I believe, this is just me because ignore this cup of coffee because it's just on the way here. But I believe gas stations are unrecognized for the great coffee both you guys have. You have better coffee than most places. So I'm a guy that goes in and gets coffee. I go to other gas stations and they got the machines I ignored. It's just part of, what's the difference between that that noise of the machines or some guy screaming? It's no different to me. And probably 70% of people that get gas, maybe it's probably higher than that. 80% put their card in and leave. They don't even go inside. But I've had my car, an example, I've had my car a month and not put gas in it because I got a plug-in hybrid. And fortunate, I don't know what my house bill is going to be, but I plug in now, and that's what the car technology is going to go to. So everybody's going to have to change pumps. You'll probably end up changing pumps. So what's someone going to do for the 15, 30 minutes while they're getting their car charged? They're going to have to sit in, drink coffee. You're going to have to change your whole business plan. People are going to have to gamble. So what's the spirit of the law? Spirit of the law is to help the businesses because your business plan is going to have to change probably from now in 5 years, 5 times. So just on the money you got to take out and maybe the loan you got to take out just to redo your gas lines, you're not putting money in your pocket. You're not making yourself more wealthy. And the pot, when you talk to any business owner, any restaurant owner, it may be $100 a year because it's been proven that in our financial, and I tried to call Zeta, that every time more machines came up, everybody's revenue went up. So I just don't understand that argument. Oh, you're going to take money out of my pocket. That didn't happen. And I agree with some trustees, yeah, because we turned it down for one person because they were going to do a sandwich shop. Yeah, machines don't belong in sandwich shops. I get that. That makes 0 sense. But gas stations, that's a necessity. You got to fill your car up and go somewhere. I don't want to drive 50 miles, which would be the end on a plug-in hybrid, and have to fill my tank up. That makes no sense, or drive 50 miles to put gas in for my lawnmower. It makes 0 sense. I want a local gas station. They're important. Just like you want to go to a local grocery store. So what your expenses are, you're not threading your pockets with cash because you got some huge, huge expenses. And you're talking, how much do you estimate to pull up those tanks?
300 to 500,000 minimum, maybe
Okay.
more.
So by the time you broke even on the machines, we'll both be in the ground.
And then I want to add, like, I already spent like more than $500,000 just on renovation.
Right.
Look good. That's part of downtown, so I want that to look good, so I already spent a lot of money.
Right. And your building does look great. He bought the building next door to expand, so he's gonna do the same thing. I know Sonny owns multiple buildings in Antioch, so I mean, you guys are making Antioch a hometown. And like I said, I'm not gonna sit up there and judge the spirit of the law. Sometimes you gotta look at what's the spirit of the law? To help businesses keep their head above water. That's all it is. Not, and you guys aren't threading your pockets to make money because you guys got a lot of EPA expenses coming up.
All right, thank you, trustee Peterson.
If we say yes, we'll never be able to say no to anybody else. I was talking to two of the stores on Main Street, the gift shops, and they're in trouble too. We can't take everybody by the hand and fix what's happening. We didn't cause it. They're not saying we did. It was caused at the federal level. It was caused at the state level, and even the county. The county had to come in and impose taxes on them. And we're a border town. And when all this happened, we knew it was going to happen. And people can't afford to go buy food, so they're taking the path of least resistance and going over the border to buy gas. And I understand the whole problem, and I feel terrible for you. I really do. But we're in a difficult position here. There are stores on Main Street, those gift shops, like Trustee Pierce said, they've already asked. I mean, some of them, we give them a liquor license to pour the champagne, do a mimosa while the women shop in their stores. Well, you know, things get bad enough, they're going to want to have gambling machines. How do we say no to that? Where do we draw the line? We are changing law to give the gas stations gambling. When do we stop? When do we work with someone and say, well, let's try and figure this out? But or we are going to change the face of Antioch forever. Where it is going to be Las Vegas, wherever you go. So I feel awful about this. I really do. This is not an easy decision at all. And it's painful. It's awful. And I can't support it. I'm sorry. I just can't. We have to draw the line somewhere. We do. Or we're not going to be able to say no to anybody.
Thank you. Anybody else comments?
Just one more, and then I think I'm done.
Trustee Bourbon?
So the gas station off of 83, the Shell, sorry, I'm trying to make sure, but yeah. Yes. Is there, as far as distance wise, is there a specific, because I'm also concerned about that location because we have an elementary school across the street. We have a church, which I do believe still has childcare there. And we also have a park that's
being placed there where you have public gatherings, where you're gonna have kids running around. And that does concern me. Like, I know that maybe it might be, nobody goes in there, nobody's gonna go in there to drink. Or there could be a bunch of people going in there to drink, but then they're leaving and you're right in that main location. Where you have young kids, and that is very concerning to me. So I just, I know that there's distance requirements.
We,
I-
we meet the distance requirement. We checked on that.
Okay.
And then we already have a lottery, which is similar to the video game. Right? And then everybody has a phone today, right? So there
Yeah.
is the gaming. We all have, it, right? This is not anything different.
Couple things
Okay.
came up when I was listening to other trustees. Do you guys have plans in regards, and I say this because I know you have to be 21 or older to gamble on the machines, correct? In a restaurant or bar, I mean, first in a bar, you need to be 21 to be in there, you would hope. Restaurants, there could be kids, but they have them isolated and they have them marked off, and there's multiple staff members around to keep kids from going into that. Most gas stations I've been into usually have one employee that's behind the counter, ringing people up, taking care of business. So what are your plans in regards to being able to keep, or where in your establishments would these machines be? Number one, how would you keep them isolated from kids who can walk into any gas station to buy something, to keep them off of the machines while you're, which I'm assuming just one employee is behind the counter? Do you have plans for that?
There is like a separate area with the doors, and that door can be opened with the ID on that. So that whoever the employee will be in charge and then check the ID, and then there's a swapping, then we can do.
Okay, so you're gonna have it
Yeah.
technically
And
locked off
locked
or
off,
blocked off?
Yep, separate area,
Same
locked
or?
off.
We will, it's required by state of law. Usually we are more than one employee. There's no secondary employee out there by itself, so there's
Okay.
more than one person all the time, but eventually we will have to hire more people in order to mandate all the state required laws, and also on premises by facet village requirements. We're not gonna be able to, like last time, I think, we were just talking, I think I was talking, sorry, like, who's to say if somebody's gonna buy a 6-pack beer there and start opening and drinking? No, we're not gonna allow that. We're gonna be allowing take home, it's in the bag, you can't take that in that area. We already have signs like no merchandise on our restaurants. People buy small liquor and they try to go in the restaurant, restrooms, and we stop them. Hey, you can't do that. Same goes with that, even more restrictions that nobody will be allowed to drink on premises if they buy that. Or on premises would be different, as a waitress or one of our employees will serve them liquor or beer. But it'll be completely monitored area. As far as you asked us, like where I would put it, for as villages required, permission, we have next door, next to the station, which is vacant, nothing is being done. In the past, by respective board, I was approved for restaurant and gaming. I was gonna do restaurant there, but I don't have enough manpower, especially nowadays, nobody wants to work. And I'd rather spend money in gas station than being a competition for others. And so therefore we could do the gaming there, or we can move the storage next door and do gaming where my storage is right now, which is totally separate room. It's not gonna be anywhere visible from the normal transactions. It's like separate room. We can monitor with the cameras and obviously like Sam said.
And question for the village attorney. If we were to authorize this change to the license structure, would anyone that has this license, even though they're saying that they're not gonna have drinks on site, they'd be allowed to under the liquor license,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
So there would be nothing that we could do to enforce that if they decided to start serving alcohol?
Correct.
Nothing further at this time.
Trustee McNeil?
It's still such a hard decision, and I just am torn. I agree with what Trustee Peterson said, and I'm just throwing this out there to the board because I'm struggling with how it got approved for like the Piggly Wiggly and the liquor store. Like, I agree with everybody. I think we need to draw that line. But then I have this horrific feeling because to me, that seems more like the gas station. They've already got the liquor license, just like you already have it, versus the retail stores that don't have it now. And if they wanted to do a special, champagne tasting or wine, they could do like a special event, license. And I'm still so undecided, but I'm just tossing that out there because it's just hard for me. I literally have lost sleep over this. So just to pass that around to the board again, I'm just struggling with that, with the pig and the liquor, and how do I don't know, justify that, saying no, but we said yes to that. It's tough. If that makes sense. I don't know if anyone has any other.
There's also like, used to be like only beer and wine license, not like liquor license. Like we didn't have liquor license before. And I came in front of the board and then we got liquor license. Maybe those people who are looking to just do the champagne or wine, maybe village can issue them beer and wine license only than having a liquor license.
All right, thank you, Trustee Pierce.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably going to go on for a little bit now, so I apologize to everybody in the audience. I heard a lot about the spirit of the law just a little while ago, and I too believe in the spirit of the law. And I watched this whole debate when they passed the law, and they specifically excluded gas stations unless they had over three. They had to come back and add in 3 acres to make them into truck stops where could have them for the truckers because they wanted the truckers' money. So the law was, and the spirit of the law was, gas stations were excluded, and the state did that for a purpose. I don't know why they did that. I just know that the true spirit of the law was gas stations were excluded, and I understand your all's problem, and I feel terrible about your all's problem. As I said earlier, if there's something that's going to happen that you bring before the board, I'd love to see that. Maybe we can work out some form of deal, but just to support the expansion of this, I don't think, and I understand the gas tanks are going to be expensive, and that's a mandate by the state. I think your association, you've got to belong to all sorts of association, gas station associations. There are no state lobbyists that are lobbying the state.
100% happening, and people who have single wall, even though we have fiberglass lines are in compliance versus single wall steel lines. But state said no single wall line, has to be double wall lines, which means we have to tore all the concrete and everything. And again, we've been getting estimate, but estimate is only good for 30 days. This year we got estimate, and people are saying if you don't remove the tanks, which I don't have to remove the tanks, my tanks are still good condition. But if we build the store, my tank's gonna be right in front of the door. So which way do I go? If I rebuild the store, I'm gonna have to remove this tanks. Then cost goes up more than 600,000. And if I don't do the tanks, just lines, it's 250 to 300,000.
Okay.
So that's completely coming. There's no way out. They will red tag us. There will be no gas stations unless you do that. And I would like to promise you guys that if we're saying that, we will spend more money than needed. We will, and we can prove that. And we were already planning that. But since this tax, the COVID cost doubled up, the construction cost doubled up, we paused our thought. But gaming is probably only last hope. I would have to update the location. And I made some notes. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk as Rebecca and all the others.
I was still asking some questions. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sure the board will let you say some additional stuff. But my point about the tanks is the state issued this mandate. At some point, the state has to step in and say, this is how we're going to help people. And I don't think the character of the town is the cost of the tank replacement. And so I'm very concerned about just saying, okay, anybody can have gambling if they want it. We give them whoever's got a Class C license or whatever license we're dealing with right now. There's a problem with that. So I don't see. I understand your issue with the tanks, but I think it's the cost of that replacement is above and beyond the gambling cost. I think it's kind of the character of the town, which Trustee McNeil alluded to a little while ago. I would ask Trustee Masick to help define who the biggest opposition is, because when you start talking about the morals and the opposition, I thought for a second you were talking about me. And I am opposing this, but it's not on a morals basis. I mean, I just took $40 out of the VFW the other night. I enjoyed it. My wife was at a casino this weekend, took a couple hundred out. She enjoyed it. So it's not a morals issue to me. It's a character of the town's issue. So I'd like to know who the biggest opposition is, because I haven't, I'm not sure who is mentioning. And Mr. Darney, you mentioned you spent like $500,000 or so on the store improvements. How much of the village money was that involved in 40,000? 20. Okay. So we did help you there. And we changed ordinances to allow you to sell more liquor and stuff, if I remember correctly. For Sonny over here, we changed the laws the time at which they can do the turnover of the alcohol late at night, so your staff doesn't get over flooded. We've done things to help mitigate some of the impact of this, and I know we want to help you. Just to me, it goes to how far we expand out. And I also want to be clear when it comes to this, there may be an insinuation out there somewhere. This decision, I don't profit from it one way or the other. I don't have a business in town. I don't provide services in town. So nothing I do is for profit on here. It's trying to figure out what's best for the village. And so I'm not picking on you for any specific reason other than I'm concerned about the expansion of the gambling into every business once we open this door even further. So that's where I stand.
Trustee Masick.
Hey, I'm gonna get ready to get gavel. Every time I make a comment, Trustee Pierce, it's not about you. You did that last meeting about my paramedic experience. You had to make it your Navy experience. So I'm gonna ask you for future meetings.
All right. Okay, we got it. We got it. All right. You got it. All right.
Thank you. So when I talked about morals, I don't judge people for what they do. They want to sit down at a restaurant and gamble. That's up to them. They want to sit at a gas station, and the gas station over in Lake Villa is right across from, what's that school, Cleveland. So the booze, I think it's the same distance as the lodge. So when I said the spirit of the law, I said the spirit of the law is to help people. I get what, with Rebecca, a lot of respect. I get, we don't want to give it to everybody. We made a few errors in the past that stung us. Kind of gasoline is kind of something that needs to happen to get to and from work. If I sat up on this board and said, I go to Wisconsin to get gas. Okay, the taxpayers pay everybody. I don't do it. Haven't done it since I've been up here. I give it back to the town. I believe, and this is when I was on the rescue squad. If you live in town, you spend your money in town, you don't take it out of town, because that's how the town survives. And that's how we always made our donations. When the rescue squad got no tax money, we spent it in town. Any money we received, we put it back in town. So that's my philosophy that I was always accustomed to. So if I can buy it in town, that's what I try to do. I don't go outside to buy it somewhere else. So that's what I meant by that. So if someone's hurting in town, I'm going to try to fix that paw. I'm going to try to help the person. And if they got a $500,000 expense, I wouldn't want that expense. That just screws up my household budget a lot. So restaurants, bars, they don't have the EPA hounding down on a gas leak or anything else like that. So a lot of other stuff, everybody can have different opinions. That's fine. That's cool. It's groovy. I just think Antioch needs gas stations, and you look at, you can go through the different gas stations. I think this is a weird discussion because it's set 80% of the time nobody goes to gas stations, and if you, I just don't.
Trustee Peterson?
I have nothing further.
All right, so, as a point of order, I'd like to call a vote. I'd like to clarify, the motion that's on the table. It was a motion to deny the ordinance without prejudice. I just want to clarify, there was something stated on the record about a 1-year, moratorium, whatever word you want to use, on bringing back or reconsidering one within a year. I am not aware of that portion of the code. The village attorney, I've asked them to look at that, so I'm not sure if that's in the code. It may have been in another referendum or something, but you want to clarify?
Yeah, I am, with due respect to the trustee, I know he sat on this board for at least 20 years.
Sometimes too long.
Regardless, just reading from Robert's rules, it's preferable to avoid a motion containing a negative statement, even in cases where the effect of the motion is to propose that something be done, since members may become confused as to the effect of the voting for or against such a motion. And it also creates a situation where if you vote no on this, that doesn't mean that you're approving the opposite. I could not find it. I was not playing on my phone, as people would say. I was looking in the village code for that section. Why a prior chair or attorney would allow for such an ordinance to be written when it's directly against Robert's rules is beyond me, but I do trust Trustee Pierce and his recollection. It has served me well in the past. But so I can't find it. Long and the short of it is I can't find it. If you vote yes, you would be denying it, but it could be brought up. If you vote no, it's not saying that you'd be approving it. It would be saying that you're not denying it. And then someone could bring another motion, which is why you don't do this respectfully. What you write, another motion to approve it. I hope that makes some semblance of sense. So if you vote yes, you're denying it. If you vote no, that doesn't mean you're not denying.
So to make this easier, since my recollection of previous board actions may be incorrect, but I'm pretty sure it's not. It's just something way in the past that I got to research. I will rescind my motion and then let somebody make a cleanup motion.
And there's no objection. Sorry.
I'll rescind my second.
Okay, so there's no objection to anyone rescinding the motion, correct? Mr. Chair, let's let the record reflect there's no objection to the rescission of the motion.
All right, on item number 5, do I have a motion and a second waiving the second reading for consideration and approval of an ordinance amending section 4-2B10 of the Antioch Village Code regarding classifications of liquor licenses within the village of Antioch, Illinois, gas station on-premise consumption, ordinance number 23-09-27.
Motion approved, waiving second reading.
Motion, trustee Masek. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, trustee Bluthart. Roll call, please.
Mormon,
No.
Luther,
No.
McNeil,
Yes.
Pierce,
No.
Mason,
Yes.
Peterson.
No.
4 voting yes, motion carries.
Oh.
4 voting no, motion carries. Yes.
Motion failed.
We got all screwed up. All right. So, that's that item. So, vote was 4-2 against the approval. All right. Thank you, guys. Next item is consideration and approval of an ordinance approving and adopting amendments to the employee handbook for the village of Antioch, ordinance number 23-10-30. This has been discussed as part of your packet. There were several changes. I believe the discussion related to the vacation policy was the only one that was really discussed at the committee of the whole meeting. Is there any further discussion or questions? I just want to say something about this before we start.
We need a motion to discuss. this, right?
Motion in a second. I have a motion in a second, waiving the second reading.
So moved, waiving the second reading.
Motion
Second.
trustee Bluthart, second trustee Berman. So we're in end of October here. So we're kind of running out of time for the employees' sake to figure out what they're going to do between now and the end of the year for vacation time and payouts. I think as the trustees and the board, if there's going to be some additional change or modification to this, which I think there is probably some discussion about, it should be done in December or November, December by January, so that in 2024, the employees know how to use their vacation time and what availability they would have for payouts. They can plan accordingly throughout the year. So I would like to entertain a discussion about that briefly. I know that the current proposal in the handbook strikes some language last year relating to 2022. And I would prefer if we could just change that to 2023 and then put it on our radar to discuss for 2024, if that makes sense. So I just want to hear your opinion on that and a vote. So any on this side of the dais?
I'm
Confused.
beyond confused on
Okay.
what you just said.
Okay.
So are you asking that and I'm assuming the section you're referring to is the accrual
Correct.
portion.
Mhm.
So are you asking that we make a change other than what's in the handouts? Or, I mean, because right now it says each year, and you want to change that back to 2023?
From my understanding or discussion at the cow, it seemed like there was some concern by the board about the accruals and the payouts. Okay, so I guess if we approved it as each year, then we can come back and discuss limiting it after this year. I just don't want to see employees have to figure out what to do between now and December 31st.
If I guess I have a question then on this. If we don't amend that section of the handbook, what happens with their accrued vacation this year?
Mr. Akheim?
Thank you. So the policy as is would be use or lose except for the upon the administrator or my decision. So an employee could come to me, and I have done it on a very limited basis in the past, where an employee would justify why they're rolling over more than there would be no payout, but the request would be to if the request came to me in the current policy, I would have the decision to make with a particular employee and whether to allow them to roll over more than their annual accrual.
Okay. My biggest issue with this is not the payout per se for the police, but the issue is trying to get our employees to use their vacation days. There's a reason we give people vacation days, and they need to start using them. And I know it's not, but the police, there's an exception to the rule for them because of the fact that they can't use their days a lot of times. And so we can't mandate that they are off when we're mandating they work overtime or coming into work. So in regards to the accrual of vacation days and everything else, I mean, I'm not objecting to the fact of maybe having a two-tiered system for police and other village employees. I don't want to hurt anyone this year since it's so near the end of the year. So I don't know what's best, and I want to hear from you and others in regards to if we did nothing versus what changes you want to see this year, and maybe vote on those changes or leave everything the same this year, but then put it on our agenda, like the mayor said, to definitely tackle this issue between now in January, so that going into 2024, everyone is on the same page and we know where we're at. I don't want anyone to lose any time they've incurred through this year. And if we need to do one more payout because of what our policy was, then I would be in favor of that. But going forward, I want to make sure that we tackle this issue early, not near the end of the year.
I agree. Did you have a question in there for me? I thought there was.
I'm trying to work it all out in my head. So I guess
I could make a recommendation if that would help.
feel free.
If you approve this the way it's written today and then revisit it early in 24, I think that would, to me, be what I would recommend at this juncture.
So that would allow for the payout.
Allow for the payout this time, and then you could revisit this, as the mayor was alluding to, early 24.
That's exactly what the clarification I need. Okay. I have nothing further.
Okay. Trustee McNeil?
So initially my thoughts were I did want to give compensation to employees just because I know some of them, due to short staffing and things like that, they've really dedicated their time and energy, and emergencies come up and they end up working through. But after thinking about it, which is causing an eye twitch, that and the gas station gaming. So I'm sorry if I'm winking at anybody. I've also lost sleep on this, but I've analyzed and looked at what other municipalities are doing. I think I would be in favor of approving the way it's written for today with that payout. But my suggestion, and I talked with finance too, would be maybe we can have some sort of hybrid where, we are compensating employees who weren't able to go on vacation, but putting some sort of cap on that so that we are not, if we've got employees who are just not using all of their vacation, then we have this massive payout and we're in financial ruin. And I'm just tossing out numbers. I don't know yet. Again, I'll overanalyze this to death in my head and come back with another eye twitch next month. But I was thinking maybe 40 hours, 2 weeks, something like that, where, we're encouraging them to use vacation, but we get it. They're dedicating, and I talked to Dennis at Public Works. They took my tour this week, and Dennis, I think he told me, and I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's only taken like a week and a half in the last 2 years. And I don't think it's because he doesn't want to go on vacation, but there's just been so many things going on where, he feels he needs to be there, and there's just not, we've got great employees, but maybe just not enough. So again, I want to reward somebody like that, but just not let everything go where we're hurting our budget. So that's all I had to say for tonight.
Trustee Pierce?
I'll see how long I can go. I think just for tonight's purpose, I think we need to approve this because it is late in the year and we've dilly-dallied on this, and shame on us. But I think it needs to be approved tonight, but I think we need a date certain, because a lot of times when we say we're going to revisit something, it never gets revisited. So I'd like to, if we approve this tonight, get a date certain, like December 31st or January 15th. And since we've got a great new young assistant administrator who specializes in stuff like this, I think we could hold her to that date certain.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Masek.
So you said for extra vacation, you approve it?
I have the ability to not approve extra vacation. I have the ability to approve a larger rollover than 1 times the allotment, where they won't lose the time.
I didn't see this. Is it in this document here?
That is the current policy.
Okay. That part I don't like. I think there should be someone else involved in that, so it's not a good old boys club, because that could be some prejudice. That makes sense, attorneys?
Correct.
The one person making that decision, that could open a lawsuit.
I understand. Yeah, it's just it's based on what's the level or the extent of the authority to,
Right.
certain,
Right. That needs to be changed.
All right, Trustee Peterson?
I agree we should just approve this tonight, but I'd like to revisit it in January as well.
All right, so I'll call a roll call in a second. Let's shoot for the January 10th meeting to put this item, the accrual and stuff on the agenda for the committee, the whole meeting on January 10th, 2024. All right, roll call, please.
Berman?
Yes.
Luther?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Pierce?
Aye.
Mason?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. All right, at least now they won't all be gone the rest of the year. All right, next is the administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Board. As you know, the work has begun on North Avenue, and I think we're thankful for that, but we're not thankful for certainly the train horns and all the chatter. And I know you're all getting calls and asked for explanations, and I'm trying to do my very best to answer all the calls and provide all the explanations. But it is a complex matter. But the good news is the county has agreed to undertake this improvement, which will conclude anything within the village limits that would need attention, to enable the quiet zone to be reenacted or become unsuspended, if that's the word. So I know there are a handful of other improvements that also need to happen along the line south of us, outside of our borders, beyond our control. Is my understanding all of those are in the works, and I'm anticipating hopefully by the end of November that the reinspection will occur and the quiet zone will be intact again. Are there any questions about the trains or the quiet zone?
I do have one because it was asked by a resident to myself and I could not answer it. What makes the difference between the North Avenue improvements for the quiet zone and our other intersections? Is there a specific issue that the rail is looking at each intersection? Is there a variety of them? Is there just a variety, different ones for each crossing? Is that what it boils down to?
Everyone's a little bit different, but basically how it works is depending on the signage, the traffic count, there's all kinds of factors. How many lanes, all of that stuff go into giving each crossing within the quiet zone a score. And the quiet zone has to total throughout the entire zone a total number to qualify. And this particular crossing was identified as basically being a deficient, and the improvements are providing a score, and those are the improvements along the whole line. There was, I believe, about a dozen different intersections, crossings that need to be improved in some fashion to put the total score at that place where the FRA and ICC would recertify the quiet zone.
So it might not be that all of our intersections meet all the requirements, but in the overall quiet zone throughout Lake County, they're improving the ones that bring the score up the quickest and get it to that point.
Yes, they are. I don't know that I would say that all of our crossings don't meet it. They all have a score, okay, and they're all compliant. We as a group, as an intergovernmental group amongst 12 agencies, are just trying to get above that total number. So everything's given a score.
Just one more. So the North Avenue was not compliant. All the rest are compliant for the current regulations, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But they could change those at any time again, correct?
They could change regulations, yes.
Thank you.
Trustee Pierce?
That was my question.
Okay. Anybody else up here?
Yeah, just
Trustee Berman?
so was this due to new sudden change, like federal changes? And that was the reason why we failed, or was this just?
There is a lot of information about, and I don't have specific examples of what regulations may have changed, but there is a lot of information out there that some regulations did change, but I'm not necessarily briefed on that right now.
I wasn't sure if that was part of it or not.
All right. So if you're not going to throw it under the bus, I will. There was a town, the farthest town to the south of us, on this rail line that I think took the lead to try and make sure all of the villages were compliant. Is that true?
That's true.
Buffalo Grove led the charge on this and was supposed to make sure as a group, all the villages were going to get a mass bid to do everything from Buffalo Grove to Antioch, solicited the bids, and then basically threw them out and said, you're all on your own. Is that my understanding?
That's correct.
Okay. So that's how we got to the place we're at. So now we're all scrambling to get that done. And myself, the administrator, village attorney, we've been calling Lake County board members, federal government representatives, everybody we can to try and expedite this, because we know it's annoying for a lot of people, especially people with little kids and live through the train line. So not to make promises or put dates out there, but I have heard that November 30th, they're maybe looking to recertify these. So keep our fingers crossed. But for those that like Facebook, that's what's really going on. And if they want to reach out to the county and the villages and federal, but the railroad is not the easiest to, it's the railroad's way or the highway typically. So that's where we're stuck. That's what we're up against. Right.
And then I'd also like to report on the progress at the open space development project across the street. There's been significant progress in both structure creation. There's been a lot of concrete poured. I did not bring new pictures, but I think I'll plan to bring them maybe every other meeting to show you the progress. So basically the structure along Main Street is largely constructed at this point. I think you saw some pictures last time. It was being formed up, and if you're able to, and if you do want to visit the site, I can certainly arrange that. But that's done. There's another structure that's been poured, and now you see a crane set up where piling is going to be driven under the bridge abutments. So it's about to get very noisy over there. I'm just going to alert you to the fact that when they're driving steel pile into the ground, it becomes a very noisy, and it also produces vibration. We've notified the school, but I'm just reporting that it's about to get pretty loud over there for about a week or so. They should be done with pile driving operations, hopefully in about a week. The main, the main issues we're running into on site have to deal with soil conditions. Not necessarily all contaminated soil, but there's been a fair amount of that has been needed to be hauled off to a landfill because it was special waste. But there's also been unsuitable soil structurally, and we're concerned about slope stability. The last thing we want to do is apply these beautiful treatments to the slope with these sown outcroppings and have them start to move or slide. So there's been a significant amount of conversation going on about the handling of soil, removing certain soils that are unsuitable. We have a geotechnical engineer that's assisting us. Of course, we have a environmental engineer for the contaminated soil. But that's basically what most of the conversations and meetings have been about over the last couple of weeks is the treatment of the soil. I am expecting a change to come in. It will be sizable. I don't know the exact number at this point, but I'm just going to give you the information now so you're not surprised later. There is a large amount of what I'm just going to call unsuitable soil for different reasons. And many people ask the question, well, how come you didn't know about that? Well, soil boring cost about $1,000. To really understand what has happened on this particular site, we would have had to do a soil boring every 5 feet. We would have had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in soil borings to really understand, because soil conditions on this site change every 5 feet because it was a fill site. It was probably a lovely creek 180 years ago, and then as the village developed, it slowly got filled in over time until it was completely underground. And that filling operation wasn't done in any way that would provide any structural stability or with any thought in mind to what somebody might build on it later. And there was no EPA at the time. Most of that was done. So it's anything and everything you can imagine, which is being encountered. I think a certain amount of that is to be expected. But I think we're encountering more of that. So are there any questions about the project or the site?
Is there anything we could share with the public? I've been seeing chitter chatter on Absolutely Antioch that the public is so interested in seeing. Is there maybe like a picture or two that we could post, or do we want to wait for that big reveal? I don't know.
We're certainly able to share some pictures. Yes. I thought some pictures had been shared potentially.
Yeah. I've had a request, like, can we send a drone up there one day or something, take a flyby or something for a video, but
yeah. I think we could do something like that. Yeah.
My other question is, when do you think we'll have a sense of kind of what the extra, suitable soil issues, what that might cost us?
Yeah.
Do you have a ballpark on when we're going to get some numbers on that?
I think it'll be over the next 30 to 60 days where we should have a really good handle on, one thing that's preventing us from digging the entire channel. By the way, it's primarily excavated to subgrade, except for the portion very near Orchard Street. And they can't go there because Comcast is in the process to move some underground utilities at this point. So I'm thinking once those utilities move, and then we'll get into that last remaining area to be excavated, we'll have a much better idea. I anticipate 30 to 60. Other questions? And then, of course, I always have to report about our clarifier. The grout layer was poured. There's one final step to check out the equipment, and hopefully that tank's gonna be online shortly. I know it's been a very long process. The project didn't go as smoothly as I anticipated, but we are nearing the end. That's the good news.
Is there any chance this is going to happen again?
The potential exists. You know, the hydrostatic forces of the groundwater is what caused the failure. We are continuing to look at alternatives to control the groundwater around these tanks. It has become a very challenging exercise to understand how the groundwater gets there, where it comes from, and how to extract it. Again, soil conditions change. We put in some monitoring wells in close proximity to these tanks, but they're not close. They're not able to drill close enough to the tanks to really understand what's happening with this groundwater. So investigation continues on that. The bid we let to J.J. Henderson included installation of a groundwater system. It was determined that it was speculative whether it would work or not. So we have basically omitted that from the contract. So the contract that was let, basically we are going to get a big credit for anything related to installation of groundwater dewatering wells. But we still need to look at that because, to me, it would be kind of an insurance policy to be able to control that groundwater so it doesn't happen again. So we are continuing on that effort.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay. Trustee Mason.
So our road program, I'm getting hammered by the neighbors. We got a bunch of holes on Bulls Road, big potholes. Seems to be a long month spread between when they tore it up and when it's paved. So I get so I can't walk the streets. I don't know how we let these things happen where there's that big a time gap, and that's a main road. I don't know if Public Works has to go fix potholes, or they're going to be out there this week.
My understanding is the paving operations are going to happen within the week. So when we let a project like that, there is a start date and end date, and then it's up to the contractor. They are allowed to stage their construction. We could structure a contract where we gave them, 2 weeks to build the road. You can't have any delays. Of course, that's going to cost you a lot more, right? If you did it that way.
When's the end date? So I can tell everybody it's going to be done by X date.
I think it's November 15th or somewhere thereabouts, but I don't have the exact date memorized right now.
Well, I could say next 2 weeks it'll be done.
Yes, you can.
Not given a specific date.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. I can peek my head out.
Anything else? All right, thank you. Village Clerk.
Just a reminder that leaf vacuuming program starts next week. There's some information on the village website about how that program runs. And then, as the mayor said, trick or treating is from 4 to 7 on Halloween.
And if they don't pick up your leaves, call group. Don't call me because I can't pick up your leaves. The other one is Department reports. We got communications. Jim's not here tonight, so no report there. Okay. Parks, any report?
Thank you. Welcome. Our first time event, the Halloween decorating contest, has been well received. There are over 20 houses that we will go to on Friday night. And the winner of the 3 categories, most creative, spookiest, and best theme, will receive a $100 e-gift card. So we're really excited for this first time event. Harvest Fest is this weekend, along with Treat the Streets. We expect about 3,000 people downtown for the Treat the Streets from noon to 2 and Harvest Fest from 1 to 4 down at the band shell. We will have the traditional pumpkin roll, costume contest, hay rides, and plenty of other activities. Our sponsors for this event is Raymond Chevrolet, and then Great Lakes Credit Union is the sponsor for the costume contest. We do have over 35 high school volunteers to help make this a huge success for us. The park board met last week. They discussed the parks master plan and what is their top priority and what is our future improvements. So in the coming months, we will then regroup for the final park master plan. And lastly, the Festival of Trees at the Sawmill is fast approaching. Get your families, your companies, your business to join in the fun. Decorate a tree to be on display for the community to see. And Santa will also be at the Sawmill every Friday and Saturday in December.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you. Public Works. Dennis Heimbrook.
Thank you and good evening. We'll have to start with some bad news, unfortunately. We had 2 weeks ago a staff member leave us, so went to another community, a little more pay. So now we're down to staff members in public works. So wanted to bring that to your attention. As far as the projects, we talked about the road program a little bit. You know, if there are any complaints, please forward them down to my office. We have direct contract. Once that contractor starts on that road, it's up to them to maintain it. So Public Works wouldn't be out there. We would be calling the contractor who's responsible. So if there are issues, please let us know. This week, we also utilized kind of a new effort that I've been wanting to do for years. It was crack sealing. You may have noticed it on Bowles Road. That was one of the roads that the contractor performed it on. Savage Road was another roadway, and then Gary's and Greenbrier. We ran out of funding, or we met our funding cap. I wanted to do Longview also, but they had to stop. So, you know, with those efforts, I think that's going to improve the length of years that we do get out of a roadway to minimize the amount of water that's getting below the surface and basically causing damage to that roadway. So I hope to continue that program in the years to come. The other item is we've done our yearly parkway tree planting. This year was focused in Tiffany Farms. There's 47 trees that went in starting this week and should be completed either today or tomorrow. And that is a combined effort on the HOA's participation and the villages as we presented back years ago. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Questions?
Yeah, I just got one. How many years was that employee?
2. He was an entry-level employee, but of course he just got into the field, so he got a lot of training by us and
Last 2 years, yeah. Bad.
So
Thank you. All right. Any trustee reports? Anything on this side of the dais? Trustee reports this side? All right. Sorry about the confusion on those last 2 items we voted on, but I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion trustee
Second.
Peterson, second trustee Berman, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned at 8:07. We'll take a 5-minute recess and come back for the committee of the whole. This is the committee of the whole meeting. Roll call, please.
Berman,
Here.
Luther,
Here.
Here.
Pierce.
Present.
Here.
Present.
Present, no mayoral report. Regular business is one, approval of the October 11th, 2023 Committee of the Whole Meeting Minutes as presented. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
trustee Bluthart, second trustee Berman. Roll call, please.
Berman.
Yes.
Luther.
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes.
Pierce.
Aye.
Mason.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
6 voting yes, motion carries. Next is discussion regarding an incentive plan for a new auto sales and service facility for Raymond Kia of Antioch located at the northwest corner of Illinois Route 173 and Brown Avenue. Director Garrigan.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Excuse my voice this evening. This matter comes before you. As you recall, we recently, 2 weeks ago, approved a brand new 26,000 square foot Kia dealership for Mr. Scarpelli. That came before the board. It was approved 2 weeks ago. What comes before you this evening is a proposal. Our economic development team, including Mr. Keim and the mayor and village council, have been working with Mr. Scarpelli over the past number of months on an incentive. As you all know, in many cases in economic development, incentives are really imperative. So what you have before you this evening, drafted by council, is a revocable letter of intent incentive agreement that's really up here for discussion and general review this evening. With regards to specificity, if there's any specific questions about actually draft document, I'll defer to council, our village attorney. But in some substance, the staff has been working with Mr. Scarpelli on this proposal, incentive proposal. There is a proposal, $1 million down payment, and a overall proposal of a 50% breakdown of future tax incentives, sales tax incentives over a 10-year period. That's a very brief description. But the most important aspect is based on our discussions with Mr. Scarpelli, and I'm going to defer to Mr. Scarpelli to maybe just provide you an outline of a substantial increase that this proposed expansion will facilitate. As you well know, this is a substantial expansion of their existing Kia dealership. Conservatively, and I use that word conservatively, it's very important that they estimate probably a 20 to 30% increase in sales over the next 10 years. And that's a very conservative estimate. So approximately currently right now, we receive approximately $200,000 a year, a little less than $200,000 in sales tax from the Kia dealership. So based on the mathematics, we anticipate somewhere between $227,000 to $240,000 in sales tax. So again, over 20 to 30% increase over a 10-year period. You'll see a number of $6 million in there. Again, that number is it's really a capped out. Nobody really expects that through the 10-year duration of this agreement that the developer or Mr. Scarpelli's dealership will get even close to that number. But that's a number that we use very conservatively. So again, this is an overall proposed incentives. I think most importantly, what's critical for this proposed incentive, it's a but-for test. This is really critically important to make this project happen. As you well know, that we created our business district in many ways to bring money for that's generated of that 1% sales tax. Goes into the business district. One of the main purposes, along with capital infrastructure improvements, is to work with important developers like this, like the Kia dealership, to allow us to provide necessary incentives. And what staff fundamentally believes that this proposed development will be a catalyst for future development on the marketplace property. We're already seeing additional interest in this property, as we're very optimistic as the Kia dealership starts construction, hopefully next spring, that we'll see continued new interest in the 173 corridor, specifically the marketplace property. So we very much see this as a catalyst project and critically important for our long-term economic development goals on 173. So specifically, you have the proposed agreement. What staff is looking is for general discussion this evening on this proposed incentive agreement. And at this point, I'm going to turn over to Mr. Scarpelli to just clarify his general agreement and answer any questions that the board may have. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I took the liberty to bring a graphic essentially of what the new Raymond Kia will look like. If everybody, I think you can see it. It's
Mark, can you move it to this side?
Sure.
We can't see that either, Mark.
Okay.
You got only got Marks and
Got a
Jim
lot
in
of
the room usually, so you say Mark or Jim, somebody moves.
So in the different slide shows the different parts of the building. It will have approximately 22 service bays. It'll be 26,000 square foot on the first level. The second level is approximately 4,000 to 5,000 square feet. We're still bidding the building out and figuring out the actual cost of it. We have some very good specific estimates, but that's approved by the manufacturer. They have a set look and motif of the building. The board previously looked at that and saw how it's going to be laid out on Brown Avenue. It's going to sit on 7 acres on Brown and 173. Michael alluded to the fact that it's going to be in the marketplace property, which is on 173 and Brown, and it goes on the northern side of 173. That 80 acres we're purchasing, potentially 7 acres, which that will sit on. It's got approximately an acre of retention pond that it will have towards the back of the property. All of the latest and correct lighting for lighting pollution, environmentally friendly, all of the things that it should have based off of ordinances, as well as for the manufacturer itself. The 80 acres, we feel, while we're only purchasing 7, somebody had to be the first one out there, right? And I guess it's Raymond Kia and the Scarpelli family. That being said, we're like everybody in business, take chances, and we feel it's a good calculated endeavor on our part. The town of Antioch has been wonderful to our family, and we in turn have done hopefully some good things that are notable along the way, community service and contributing to the village and town itself. We never forget. We knew this was coming up in the net, and probably about 2 years ago, we've been working on this project. Our community service and our community development and community giving programs have been lasted almost 45 years. So it's not a thing that was invented, 6 months ago or three months ago. The rest of it, as far as development, we currently employ approximately 20 people at our Kia facility. All in all, at both locations, I'm speaking Antioch specifically, we have about 135 people that work for us. The Kia store in particular is about 20 people. We expect to have that at least 40, and then we will ramp it up, obviously, based off of how business goes. And you could well imagine many of you are in business or are involved in business some way or another. To make that type of investment, we need to make this to be a success. This is not going to be, well, let's see what happens. It's, I wouldn't be before you. I would have a discussion with myself first and say that I can or we cannot do it. So know that we are very proud and very excited for the opportunity. Also want to let you know that all of our vehicles that we sell and service, majority of them are from the area. On the other hand, there's a certain amount that are not from the area. Approximately 22% come outside our village border, if you will. So as far as a tax generator, you would say that might be a negative. Actually, it's a positive. We have people that come into our town who do ancillary things when they're here. They buy gasoline, they go out to dinner, they check out the chain of lakes. There are other things. They might even move here. We have a lot of people that tell us that they're enamored with the town, the acquaintance of it, and all of those things that we sell. We've been here for 65 years, so it's not a thing that we're. It sounds good, right? It's fact. We know it. Believe me. Part of the thing that we looked at is by coming here and asking for your consideration and ultimately, hopefully, your approval, is to look at to see that you have, and I know that you do, but you have an economic development plan, which we took the liberty of printing off and going through it. I know that the board took a lot of time, the village took a lot of time to go through it, but essentially there's some basic key elements in it. It's to extend the tax base. We'll surely do that. We're convinced of that. We're going to create jobs, promote a new commercial business, which is on 173 in that corridor. As I alluded to before, it's going to act as a catalyst to that 80 acres. Somebody had to be first. It's hopefully going to be us. And that being the case, there'll be others that'll want to go there. Somebody's got to take a chance. We're going to take more than a chance. We're going to make it work. So I have took the liberty to talk to the developer as well, while they're very held tightly to their vest about potential users there. They have some renewed interest there. They plan to kind of rejig the property, if you will, clean up some of the brush on the front of 173, re-sign the property, and they're out talking to potential big box, little box users. And I think that you have also heard the village has been approached or has approached other potential suitors there as well. No names surely for me to mention here tonight, other than Raymond Kia, obviously. We want to also, another principle was to diversify the village economy, contributing to the tax base, and pursue options in regard to sales and service and other things that might come along with us going on 173. Improve the character and the look of the corridor. We're going to be on 173, the building that we currently are in. If you're an Antioch resident for a very long time, which I am as well, I've been in the area for a long time. Some of those buildings have a storied past. A couple of them were restaurants, tire stores, all kinds of things. So, you know, while at the moment it is in the state that it is, it's in Raymond Kia and the Raymond Kia service area. Down the street, we're going to build that big building that you see there. I've actually seen one in the ground. It's beautiful. It will be a beautiful thing coming to the village. And, you know, hopefully it brings new people there to the area and enhances property values, bring taxes to our community. So I humbly ask for your consideration. And if I can answer any questions that you may have, I also want to thank the board for taking my phone calls and any questions that you may have had this week when I did talk to you. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sure there will be. Just so the people sitting out there, I'm just going to ask that be moved one more time. I'm sorry. Thanks, Vanna. Yeah, whatever you do. All right. Questions, discussion. So we'll do our 2 times around and see how it goes. Anything down here?
I just want to say that it's exciting. You know, I know people have been asking for more stores and more things, and it's hard when you don't have the proper things set that developers want. And I think that, like you said, you're a catalyst, and I do think that it will be a domino effect and it'll bring more in. So awesome.
Trustee Bluthart?
Not much to say, just it's nice when you can vote on something or discuss something. I guess we're not voting tonight, but discuss something that, one, I feel strongly about, in the sense that that business district there needed something to get it going. And I'm glad it's Raymond Chevrolet. I mean, you guys are the heart and soul of that district right now, and this is just going to expand it. And I think it's going to be great to attract new businesses and be an attractive addition over there. It's also nice when you have a business that's in town that does as much as you guys do for the community. And I won't be supporting this because of what you do in the community, but it's nice that you do it anyway. and the organizations, the schools, the people that benefit from what you add to this community. All on their behalf, I say thank you. And I look forward to working with you guys as you develop this project and we get other things going in that area. So, thank you.
All right, Trustee McNeil.
I'm also very excited about your project and thank you for the phone call. I'm sorry we weren't able to connect today. I left a message back for you, but I think it's gonna be great for our downtown, for our community. I know all of us are so grateful for everything that you do, all of your community service and your charitable outreach. Because I'm new to the board, I spent some time looking into, what is this typical for, auto dealerships and things like that. And it actually seems from my research that it's less than what other you're asking. Yeah. So, but I also know when I've been out talking to the restaurants, there's, people asking what kind of business incentives are we giving? So if I was approached by somebody saying, "Wow, why did we do this for Raymond and why didn't we help so and so?" And I think I understand, but can you help me give a good answer to somebody who might question me?
I think that the reach that whatever business we're talking about, the reach that they have, both business wise and generator of sales taxes would drive me for sure. That would be the first thing that I would look at sitting where you are. And secondly, are they a good corporate citizen? Are they doing the right thing in the community? Do they have an outreach program? The answer to all that stuff is yes, of course. And reputations precede businesses, and in that regard, I think it's very acceptable. And as I had mentioned, and I can't stress this enough, I believe that to be a catalyst for the community and for that particular piece of property, that will get that going. I'm sure you're aware of the history of it. It has, I may be off on the years, but I think it's been vacant for 15, 18 years, something like that particular piece of land, whether it be economic reasons, it just didn't perk out, or other reasons, it just didn't happen. But here we are in pretty much of a boom area, or pretty good economic conditions for our business in particular. And we don't have a lot going on. So I think we need a catalyst as well. That's why I jokingly said, well, I'm the lucky one, of course. Well, I want to be there. On the other hand, it will get the rest of the area going too.
Thank you so much. That was all I had.
Trustee Pierce.
Wow. I am going to talk a lot here, and I am going to build upon what Trustee Masick said just on the part of the beehive. Back, I was 20 years old and I was stationed at the Navy base, and some young lady said, "Meet me at the beehive in Antioch." And as I'm driving, I'm going, how far out is this place? And I kept driving and finally got to the beehive. I'm like, oh, this is a cool little place. And we had our little luncheon date thingy, and things went well. And so that's my first introduction to Antioch. Was the beehive. So that was a great restaurant.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, it was a great place. It was a great memory for me. But I also remember when I first ran for office, I ran with Tasso he was running for mayor. And he says, "Scott, I got to take you around town and show you all the businesses." And he goes, that's the Scarpelli place. You got to know, old man Scarpelli, anytime somebody came back from Vietnam, they had a car waiting for them, and they could drive that car while they were on leave, the whole time they're on leave. And when they left, they could go holding their head high, saying they got to drive a great car while they were on leave. So it's not just today. It's not just you. It's your whole family that's done things for this community. So to me, it is a journey that we've been on. The marketplace, you mentioned that piece of property. I was here when it was great hopes for that piece of property, and then when it fell apart in 2008, with the economy and whatever other reasons, and today I was driving down Grand Avenue and in Gurnee, and I'm like going, look at that empty car place. Look at that. That one's gone. It's got signs up for sale. There's 2 or 3 empty car lots, and they were big names, Marquette or something like that. There's a Jeep place for sale there too. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And you're not talking about closing, you're talking about building. And you're talking a minimum of a $10 million investment in our community to help build this. And if people talk percentages, what you're asking for as an initial outlay is 10%. The rivalry got 10%. I think, other places as a percentage of what they outlaid got more. But to me, this is just such an amazing journey, an amazing part of Antioch that I don't see how we couldn't support this. And maybe in 100 years, there'll be some other goofy guy sitting up here going, I remember my first date right there by that Kia dealership. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Trustee Mason.
I support. I just don't, told you before, at 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't know how you get past waking up every night, knowing how you finance that juice. So I wish you well. Thank goodness no one got killed walking across the street at this point in time. So I don't have much to say. I don't know how you get past 2 o'clock.
It's where the gray hair came.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
shouldn't wake up going, geez, I made 3 stupid trades.
Trustee Peters.
You're from a wonderful family. Your mom and dad or your dad is, your mother was wonderful. I knew her well. They raised you and your brothers to do exactly what you're doing. That's who they were and that's who you are. And we're very lucky to have you. Our community's lucky. Every single time the football team plays, there you are with the
They're
fireworks.
really good too.
No, I know, I know. However, you have supported this community and I'm pretty proud to be able to support you back. So let's all go and get this done. I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm not going to waste everyone's time going around 2 times. So we'll just move this to the November 8th meeting for the regular board meeting for a vote.
Thank
All right.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you. All right. Thank you.
It's a hard decision.
All right. Next one is item 3, discussion regarding request for a liquor license from Old Chicago Red Hots. I believe, yep, the applicant, Mr. Nayani is here. Floor is yours.
Well, we'll be in town for the last like 38 years, operating multiple businesses in town. And we can be more thankful and blessed by the town and support of the town and the citizens of town. Overwhelming support. But last couple of years, businesses are kind of down. Everybody knows that. So all we need to know if we can get a liquor license to improve the business.
Discussion from the board on this item, questions?
Not with this one.
Okay.
Do we know what form of liquor license he's requesting, or is that? I was looking on the application, I didn't see it.
No beer and wine, I believe.
Just beer and wine?
One more page.
Yeah, I think it was beer and wine.
Okay.
Beer and wine.
Yep.
And since we've had this discussion earlier, does the beer and wine license authorize them to have gaming?
Yes.
It does. No more question.
All right. Trustee McNeil.
You don't have any questions or comments at this time.
Trustee Pierce.
You're not going to replace that soda machine, are you?
I'm sorry, what?
You're not going to replace your soda machine, are you?
No.
Every time I go in there, my wife wants your tropical lemonade. So
No, I will be there.
and your hot dog. She loves your hot
Thank
dogs.
you. Thank you.
So the underlying goal here, though, is to get the liquor license for beer and wine, and then add in gambling.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes.
Is there a space in there for that?
Plenty of space there.
Okay. What's the difference between this probably for the attorney or Mr. Garrigan, What's the difference between this type of operation, a restaurant, and a gas station? Because we still have the gas station. Um,
Well,
is there, I mean,
I mean, you can go pour the gas, but you can have a beer can with it, can of beer with it. But restaurant, you can sit down, have a hot dog and a can of beer with it.
I mean, but what are our requirements for gambling in the state of Illinois?
Yeah, it's the same. Unless I'm unaware of something, it's the same requirements. It's the same licensing. It's pouring. And once you have a pouring license, you are eligible for gaming under the act. Unless Mr. Garrigan, again, I'm not being, yeah, it's smart, but unless you know something I don't know, same thing.
That's
Yeah.
the same analysis.
And I believe,
Is there a percentage of food versus alcohol or?
Michael, wasn't there, just, again, it's been a long time since I looked back at this.
My understanding,
Is
based
it-
on my recollection of the liquor code, there is a percentage of certain types of classification of certain licenses.
Sure.
That's
And was
my
there a
understanding.
percentage of food or,
Was it a
type
65?
or
I
had
don't remember the
anything
exact
related to hoods or any of that stuff? I can't remember if that's in our code. No. Okay.
No.
So they are obviously serving food.
They're obviously
So
serving.
they're meeting the requirements.
Correct.
Compared to some other restaurants that have come in here and said, oh, we got a microwave and we're gonna have a sandwich. Can we have gambling? Sorry, go ahead.
The Class B license requires that sales of food must comprise at least 40% of the annual gross revenues to qualify for the license.
So
And
that's
it
what
must
the-
be 1,800 square feet.
That's what they're going for is Class B. Okay. I just wanted to define, make sure that we're aware that they're obviously serving food, including my wife's favorite.
The last
tropical.
20 years we've been there, just that one.
Yeah.
Plus we have multiple restaurants in town.
Yep.
Right. Trustee Masek?
We turned down another gentleman that wanted to open a sandwich shop because we asked him to go and ask what other sandwich shops have liquor. Antioch Pizza, do they have liquor?
I
Mr.
doubt it.
G's, do they have liquor?
No.
Would, so you go to other comparable, you go to, Lake Villa, and I always hate saying, well, we're not Lake Villa, but you go to that hot dog place on Grand Avenue, do they have liquor? Other hot dogs, Scotty's and Waukegan, do they have liquor? Hot dogs and liquor. I'm trying to think of a place that has hot dog and liquor. And
It's not just hot dogs.
I know you got more than hot dogs, beef sandwiches and liquor. So those on 120, well, they have liquor, no. So I'm trying to get your menu to another location that has liquor, couldn't find one. That's my struggle. So if we give it to you, Mr. G's is gonna be around the corner, Antioch Pizza. They meet the criteria. So then we got every single person. So what's the difference between these folks? Mr.
I mean,
G's.
nothing against them.
Antioch
If they have
Pizza.
they're serving the food, they're more than welcome to have one. If they're serving the food, we've been serving the food for the last 20 years. And, we never had any violation, no problems, nothing.
I hear what you're saying, and I hear what I'm saying.
No, I
It's
absolutely do.
I don't know of any other place that has your menu.
Maybe I want to be number one to start it out with. I don't know.
Right. Thank you. Trustee Peterson?
I don't have any comments.
Okay. So we will also move this item to the board meeting for a vote on November 8th. All right. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is request from the Antioch Chamber of Commerce related to the 2024 Taste of Summer Carnival. Barbara Porch will present.
Thank you for allowing the Antioch Chamber to be before you tonight. I have 6 members of our board directors with us tonight to talk to you about Taste of Summer 2024. The information we've given you in your packet, we are asking your permission to move forward with a Taste 24 with our new date of June 27th through the 30th. and with our new vendor for rides.
All right, I will let the trustees ask any questions or comments on this matter.
I don't know. I'm gonna give you my thoughts on what I think and what I think may possibly come up further down the line. You know, with what happened this past summer, you know, it's still kind of new, but I think that by being proactive and going with another company, I think that's a very good thing. And I also don't think that, I know it scared a lot of people, but I think that we can't allow that to dictate everything else from here on out. As much as that situation was horrible, we can't live our lives like that, always being in fear.
Thank you, trustee Bluthart.
Just two questions, I guess, for our village attorney. In the past, we've never approved the operator of any of the carnival rides or hired the carnival in the past, correct?
We have not. It is not our jurisdiction to do so.
So in regards to this, is the biggest issue with the village just the date? And if so, do we have anything does any of the staff have anything that would preclude those dates from being good to the village? Of June 27th. I know it's the week right before the 4th of July, but are there anything that we have on the schedule already?
And as well, the only thing that I think that we have to be conscious of is not that we'd be having to approve the vendor, but just it's again the use of our property and facilities. Yeah, so and the permit. So that's why I believe they're here as well.
Primarily, you know, I wanted this board to weigh in on whether or not there would be a carnival, not necessarily the vendor. I don't think we're focused on that. And the dates. It will be a challenging week for us. It's all hands on deck, as you know, on the 4th of July. This is the weekend before. But all things considered, you know, whether it's 2 weeks after the 4th or a week before, you know, I think we'll find a way to make it work, albeit it is going to be certainly a challenge for the chief, probably to staff, but you know, it's not that we're providing a lot of police protection at the carnival. We've had very limited problems, but we do staff up a little bit for those days because of the amount of people that come to town. So bottom line, I think we can make it work, but the primary issue before you is whether you're going to allow a carnival on, you know, Barbara came to me and asked me, and I said, no, I'm not going to make that decision unilaterally. I think the board should make that decision.
Nothing further at this.
All right. Trustee McNeil.
So I appreciate all of your research I read through. You really did a great job on finding the safety and looking at statistics and things. And initially I was struggling, do we want to have this carnival again in light of everything? But along the lines of what Trustee Berman said, it's tough because I think people still do like it. And if we make the effort to, like you did, to look into safety, you know, I'm kind of on the fence, but I'm leaning more toward it. And that's really all I have, you know, tonight for comments. I'm curious to see what the rest of the board has to say as well. So that's all.
Right. Thank you, Trustee Pierce.
This is for the chief of police. Are we still holding the old the carnival ride from last year? Is it still under impoundment?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's still taking up space at Public Works. We're trying to identify the timeline for how long that's going to be there. There's a lot of things in motion related to a civil case as well as a criminal investigation. So the short answer is yes.
Has the criminal investigation been concluded or the state investigation?
No. So multiple agencies involved. So the State Department labor inspects these rides, has additional work they need to do before they can render their findings on any potential mechanical problems with the ride itself. They are unable to complete their inspection until a temporary injunction is lifted relative to the civil case. So until the civil injunction is lifted, allowing the state to manipulate some of the components on that ride to complete their inspection, they're unable to do a complete inspection and release the reports.
Okay, thank you.
Until those reports are released, the state's attorney's office is unable to make a finding on any potential criminal charges.
All right. So Barbara, 2 years ago, there was an incident where a young man was hurt. Now, this year, there's an incident where a young man was hurt. And the investigation still is not complete. And we're being asked to approve another carnival before we even have a completed investigation. I just don't, maybe I'm the negative guy here tonight. I just can't support another carnival at this point. I think it may be time to give it a break for a year, let things shake out, figure out what happened, and let the investigations finalize and come up with something else to generate. I know this is a big cash generator for the chamber, and that's why all the members of the chamber board are here, because it generates their money. But I just don't see where I could support this year having a carnival. And that would just be me.
Trustee Mason.
I don't think there's no way I would support a carnival. For the basis is you can't even prove the safety of the people running the rides. It's not a professional organization. How do you do background checks on these people? You had one guy that didn't pass. You didn't know who the guy was. So who are these people operating the rides? They're not like it used to be. You could have 6 different languages running the rides. You don't know who these people are. It's not the same as it was 10 years ago. I am not going to go through what we did this last year. It's just until this industry gets tightened up, have another kid fly off a ride, and it could have been my grandson. And he goes, I'm not riding that ride. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. I would not subject the family to a carnival, and everybody's going to say, what are you guys doing? Too soon. Too soon.
Trustee Peterson.
This is another hard one. I think it's too soon as well. The investigation is not over with. This community came together to help that family, which was wonderful to see. But I just don't think that this is the right move at this point. I really don't. My grandsons were on that ride, the exact same ride the day before. So it was very, very frightening for me when all of this happened. I just think it's too soon. We have to figure out what happened in lieu of the fact that we had 2 years in a row with incidents. I think we just need to take a step back and review everything. Maybe think of something else to do instead of a carnival. So I feel.
Any other discussion, questions? All right, so we'll also move this to the 8th of November for discussion and a vote on use of the property on those dates for the carnival.
And the issuance of the permit.
And issuance of the permit. Yep. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
That's right. Are we going to include, 'cause there's 2 carnivals that happen in town. Are we going to look at the other carnival as well?
Do they still do the other one?
Didn't they do it? They did it last year.
I don't think they did.
I don't think
There's one over
885
here.
did. I don't think 885 did.
They didn't do one last year?
Margaret would know.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Next item on the committee of the whole is discussion regarding ordinance amending sections 4-2B-6 and 4-14-4 of the Antioch Village Code to require liquor license applicants and tobacco license applicants within the village of Antioch, Illinois, to refrain from selling products containing Delta 8 THC and kratom. This is something that had been raised at earlier boards meetings. There's some home rule villages that have taken up this issue as a non-home rule village. We cannot outright ban the sale of substances, but we can regulate our licenses that are privileged, like a liquor license, a tobacco license. So sorry, let's do your job.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. No, this is an initiative that was brought forth both by the board and by the police chief, and I think we have his full endorsement on this. As the mayor artfully said, we are a non-home rule unit. We are limited on regulations. The hemp industry, through tremendous efforts, has provided a clear path for the use of hemp and hemp-related products, both at the state and federal level. Notwithstanding, the ability for the village to license both tobacco and liquor retailers is one that falls within our discretion. And within our discretion, if this ordinance is approved, we would be requiring anyone who seeks a tobacco license and or a liquor license to be prohibited from selling a product known as Delta H, there we go, tetrahydrocannabinoid, also known as Delta H THC, and kratom, 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 sorry. I believe there's another product that's related called K2. Again, the privilege of selling certain products in the village is one that comes under strict regulations of the village. And what we would be seeking at this point in time as a unique and creative way to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the village is to require people to aver and basically swear that they will not be selling these products if they want to be in the tobacco and or liquor license business in the village of Antioch. Mr. Chief, did I miss anything?
I would like the chief to define what exactly we're talking about. I mean, it's easy to say their names, but
Does this include all hemp products? Hemp,
I don't think CBD. No, CBD.
No, we can't.
No.
CBD. Do you want me to address?
Yeah,
that?
you guys.
The scope. So the scope of regulations. So the
CBD
Illinois
doesn't-
Hemp Act is broad, and this is not prohibiting that the sale of a broad swath of materials, just these items that were listed thereon. And it's not necessarily even a prohibition on the sale, but rather that if you're going to engage in these other businesses, you can't engage in the sale of THC, Delta H, kratom, thank you, or K2. K2 is not added right now, but if you look, and the chief's going to say something, it's going to be very artful, but we're probably going to have to amend this because there will be more products that come up under this paradigm or under these types of use.
Yes.
Can I ask a question, Chief or Jimmy? Are these all synthetic products?
No, Kate, the problem with the legislation at the state level is that the legislatures aren't able to keep up with the market itself. I feel that through our licensing, we probably can move things a little bit quicker to address the problem on a local level. K2 has evolved into different derivatives. Still kind of the common names are K2. That is a synthetic product, very, very similar to works to THC. It's just a chemically derived product. The Delta 8, which is a THCA, is a product of hemp, and it qualifies for sale on the market because when the state legalized cannabis, they set certain thresholds for a percentage of THC within that product that makes it either lawful for sale or unlawful for sale. And Delta 8, which is THCA, in its native form falls under the state threshold. Don't quote me on this. I think it's somewhere like 0.3% of THC, but its chemical makeup is such that by the application of heat to that product, it becomes Delta 9, which is the traditional THC, which is only permitted to be sold in a licensed dispensary. So most of your cannabis products, when you want to abuse them or inhale them, you apply heat. So just by the simple act of smoking these products, it becomes what is called pot light on the streets. The potency of it is not the same as the Delta 9 that you would buy in a cannabis dispensary. However, the effects are very similar. And again, one of the big problems with some of these products on the market is they're not regulated in their manufacture and cultivation like the Delta 9 products you're finding in dispensaries are. Those are under very, very strict state guidelines for quality controls, make sure they're not contaminated sources. And these products with the Delta 8 are not. They could be manufactured in a garage workshop or a factory with very little oversight by the government, virtually unregulated. There's been some movement in the market to try to for the manufacturers to take pledges to produce better products, but there's no teeth in it and there's no endorsement or protections under the state law or the FDA.
Thank you. I forgot where I left off here. But
What?
on this side, where was I at? Everyone on this
You
side?
didn't start anybody.
All right, you got anything? All right. I know Petrina was asking me a question.
Should
Sorry.
should I
Yeah.
abstain?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. She's,
Right, Jim?
yeah. If you want to. Yeah. Trustee Bluthart.
Not a lot of questions other than, do we know if the state's working on any type of new laws or regulations regarding these products at this time?
Yes, there are, I know a minimum of 2 separate state Senate-led initiatives. One is to ban certain products, one is to regulate certain products, and they are competing. And the statement on both was when they introduced the Hemp Act, it was just, they didn't really put any parameters on it, and it became proverbially the wild, wild west, where people just fall under that and use it. So there are 2 separate legislative initiatives. They are both introduced by senators who are normally allied on interests, which means that they'll probably they'll split up their own sources of votes. But I can't see how this doesn't get changed with this type of push. But for now, this is a creative and aggressive approach and the best that we can do with our non-home rule powers.
Nothing further.
Just a question for the attorney. So with this, I know it says the words renew, but if I was selling something like this, just not really me, but somebody now,
Sure.
they would be technically grandfathered in until they come up for renewal again.
We're going to insert a 30-day clause on there, and then they would not, essentially it would be, you have to comply with this within 30 days. Okay. We're looking at 30 days. So yeah, that's where we're at.
That was it.
Trustee Pierce.
So we've got, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief or the attorney, we've got a product out there that was approved through an act that the state passed, but they didn't regulate it. And the manufacture of it's not regulated. The distribution of it's not regulated. The sale of it's not regulated. And depending upon how the application of this product is applied, it can simulate the same thing as smoking a joint or something or
Yes. So I kind of got to split the baby on this one a little bit. So the Delta 8 products, I searched and I searched and I searched. I don't know if the attorney can clarify, but I couldn't find any real regulations that govern the sale of that product. Kratom, on the other hand, does have some state legislation behind it. It prevents the sale of kratom in possession to people under the age of 21. However, the concern always is that not to disparage any of our retailers, but You know, the trend is, we all know if a kid wants to get their hands on tobacco products or alcohol products, there's a means and mechanism they can usually do it, right? They have a buddy buy it for them or whatever they may do. The retailers that are selling these products are not bound to the same strict licensing and inspection requirements that, say, a dispensary would be. The safety protocols in place to prevent minors from coming into possession of Delta 9 or THC regular cannabis are very high. You know, they're scanning IDs for everybody that comes in, age verifications, all these type of things to prevent that. It's a very different environment when you go into a gas station or a convenience store that are selling these products, you know, 2 feet away from Hershey chocolate bars and Hubba Bubba Bubblegum, those kind of things that kids are drawn to. So it's just the concern of access to minors is the likelihood is far greater in the retail environment versus in a dispensary environment for cannabis itself.
And we have to wait, if we follow the what the attorney said, any form of regulation to ensure. Well, with Kratom now, we just learned that they have to be 21 and older in a perfect world, but there's nobody enforcing it.
Correct.
Anything else, they could be 11 or 12 years old and buy.
Yeah, the Delta 8, again, I turned to the attorney. I don't know if they were able to find anything. We did a lot of work trying to understand what the requirements were, and it appears that there's been some movement at the state level to try to put the same restrictions in place and kind of close that loophole of the Delta 8, but unfortunately under the Hemp Act, it's a virtually unregulated product.
I've also never seen anyone prosecuted for selling kratom to a person under the age of 21.
Oh, I don't even do. I know the sheriff goes out on cigarettes and does cigarette stings to see if they're selling the cigarettes to kids. Are they doing the same thing with kratom?
No, I have no evidence of that in any of the municipalities or any of the counties or any of the townships that I represent.
And unfortunately, the state has leaned a little bit heavier on the legislation related to the possession. The laws are much more clear with kratom on the possession by minors. They're a little more ambiguous when it comes to the sale side of things.
So people who are selling this are kind of skirting, maybe.
I think the potential is there. And again, you know, I'm not saying anybody in our community is doing that, but I think the potential always exists, whether by error or just mistake. Of course, you know, if somebody comes in, they look like they're 21 years of age, and they go to purchase one of these products, you know, just same way kids have gotten booze since the dawn of time, right? But it's just eliminating that potential when you looking at the environment as a whole, right? Kids go into gas stations, they buy products, they buy candy bars, they buy sodas, they buy whatever. 2 feet away, you have these products that have the potential to harm them.
Right.
And the regulation is focused here on those people that would be doing the distribution rather than a person under the age of 21, as we talked about, who would be essentially the victim of a marketing scam or ploy on something like that. Is that correct?
Well, I'll be a little bit more blunt, I guess, and this is nobody's words other than mine. So if anybody gets mad, I'm sorry. If we have somebody out there trying to sell this stuff to an 11 or 12-year-old kid because they can make a profit, to me, that's predation. It may not be sexual predation, but it is a predation of a kid who doesn't need to be spending his money on this stuff so that somebody else can make a profit. So I think we need to try this. And if the organizations don't like that we're trying this, I think this is one of the things for the safety of our kids that we need to stand up and say, bring it on. There's a lot of things we don't bring it on to, but this is one thing we need to, because kids have enough problems in life these days to have to deal with going in there and looking at their Hershey bar, their Hubba Bubba Bubble, or their kratom right next to it.
And that's what the legislation is aimed to do. It really has nothing to do about the philosophical debate of these products themselves. It is focused purely on the health and safety of our community.
Thank you.
All right. Trustee Masek.
I thought years ago, for the product spice, we had something on the books for the synthetic marijuana. There was someone selling, and we stopped that years ago. I'm talking 20 some years ago. There was spice, so that was cut out. basically that's the same thing as the hemp product. That's a tough thing. You can't buy it on Amazon, right? You can buy CBD oil, which CBD oil is a different animal. This is kratom that you talk to any ER doctor what that is bad news. And even the other stuff that people find no different than sniffing glue, is they can change the chemical process. That's what the spice was that it started. When I first figured out what spice was, I was in New Orleans because I didn't know what the heck it was, and I saw it up here, and I go, "What? How can we be selling in Antioch? It's Illinois. We're not goofballs." So then all of a sudden that changed, and I remember I was on the rescue squad 25 years ago, and I know that was banned 25 years ago. So
Yeah, and the problem with a lot of these synthetically compounded products is
keep changing.
it's very easy for a chemist to change one molecule within that compound, and now an unlawful product becomes lawful. And I think that is, in the attorney's wisdom, is creating that appendix to allow us on a local level to
And the
continue.
problem with a lot of these products, the chemicals used, people go into allergic reactions. It could be fine for someone, but the other person, all of a sudden, they're on the floor, foaming from the mouth.
And these products are very reminiscent of
Yes.
a product we used to have that we had problems with called bath salts, right?
Right.
And it's native in its native format as sold over the counter. It's a rather innocuous product, right? It's marketed to be used in bathtubs and give your bath, it's like almost like an Epsom salt. But again, through the application of heat, these compounds change and it becomes a very intoxicating and often dangerous compound. I mean, so you could take a bath, that product, you could take a bath in it one day and then smoke it the next day, and we'd be chasing you down the street running, it with core temperature of 103 degrees with no clothes on. And that is the reality of the product. And, while on a lesser level with some of these products, the potential exists for the abuse of it.
Trustee Peterson?
Well, CBD, some CBD has THC in it, correct?
Gotta buy it at the dispensary.
Okay. Well, just so we don't have it. I mean, I want that checked out too.
Yeah, the ability to abuse the retailly available CBD just doesn't exist.
Okay.
It's well below that threshold established by the state. What's determined is again a lawful or unlawful product. I would put CBD oil into more of the holistic category of things where they, it probably does have some legitimate holistic value to it, but doesn't have the same potential to be abused as the products that are under discussion this evening.
Okay. And to Attorney Vasili's point, we are going to have to amend this ordinance as these products come out.
We'll never be able to, we'll never anticipate. So in the idea of chemical regulations, and the chief can correct me on either one of these 2 points, we are always behind. And it's just kind of the nature of the beast. We are always reacting. It's very hard to be proactive. If we could be proactive, we would prohibit it before it came out. We'd capture the field, as they say. Also, I believe, and I am not a chemist, and I don't think the chief is either, but I think in a normal CBD that the intoxicating molecules are extracted before they're put in to the distribution and commercial delivery device. Is that correct?
You've got Google in front of you, not me. So
No, I don't.
I defer to you.
Yeah, I think, and I could be wrong.
Okay.
But I think that they're taking out. So it's a completely different type of thing. Their point is not intoxication, from my understanding. Okay.
All right. Well, and 30 days, this goes into effect as soon as we
Yes.
pass this?
So there is, it's interesting because we have under state law to have a penal ordinance, you have to give a time lag.
Okay.
But we're also going to have 30 days for it to go into effect because there are people who have this on the shelves at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Question?
Are there any notification requirements as we are impacting the licenses, or what some companies are selling in town, or?
That's an excellent point, trustee. So it may be something where our offices take the lead and notify all tobacco and liquor licensees about the fact that this regulation is going to into effect. It does have to come back to this body, and there may be additional changes that come in. But the idea is to give them the appropriate notification provisions and give them the ability to adjust to this legislative enactment.
I was referring more to notification prior to us voting on this. Do we need
Oh,
to
I
know
thought
it?
you meant after.
No, I mean, obviously after we would have to
No, I
notify,
think-
but
I
I'm
think
just
it's- I think-
concerned of making sure that we
Yeah.
give them an opportunity to address this with us before we vote on something like that.
No, I don't want any month. 10 days notice typical? Okay. All right, 10 days notice, so still let's put this November 8th as well. All right, thank you. All right, keeping with the similar theme. Discussion regarding resolutions dedicating revenue from video gaming and sales of marijuana. This was an item requested by Trustee Pierce. I know that this is a philosophical discussion. I just get the sense of the board. I know Finance Director Torres is not here. Administrator Kime is here. Can maybe answer some questions about cause and effect on budgets and line items. So I'll let you guys start that discussion.
Thank you, Your Honor. So gaming revenues are approaching $500,000 annually. I don't have a good feel yet for what the revenues will be on the marijuana side. I generally don't like to see these types of things restricted or earmarked. I have the feeling that as costs of materials, labor, you name it, go up, we're going to be struggling to make ends meet in the future years. And by restricting funds, that will just exacerbate our ability to fund initiatives that you may want to do or projects that you may want to do. So my recommendation would be to not restrict the revenues derived off of these things. But it really is a philosophical policy, discussion. But if you're asking me what I think, I think we're going to need that money to use for operation or projects or other things, other programming.
Okay, I'm going to lead with Trustee Pierce, obviously your request, and then I'll open it up for discussion. So go ahead.
Yeah, this was my request, and the reason I put some sample resolutions here, both for gaming, use of gaming revenue and marijuana sales tax revenue, is one thing I've heard repeatedly is, I hope the village is doing something good with this money. And to us, fixing a pothole is a good thing. To us, putting a pipe in the ground is a good thing. But what concerns me is we have new revenue streams coming in, or a building revenue stream that is going to probably increase over time as people successfully win their cases on gambling or whatever. We're going to have a growing revenue stream for gambling and a new revenue stream for marijuana. And I'm concerned that those revenues will be absorbed into the good projects of potholes and pipes and new village halls and new public works and they won't do something that's good for the morale or welfare of the village, which would be like dedicating money towards parks, taking some of this additional money and getting our park projects done. Centennial Park needs $1.2 million minimum to do that. We have one bike path through the village, which starts on Depot and goes all the way down, and there's a huge bump right there by the gas station. And then you go further down, and depending upon the time of year, there may be water across it, even though we've tried to fix that. So other than that, our projects seem to get absorbed by our needs. and the monies we have get absorbed by the day-to-day needs, new tires on the car, gas in the car, and we're not taking the time to maybe take the kids to the movies or give them a nice stroll through a park or let them walk down 59 and figure a way to get to the village by walking instead of dodging cars and stuff. So I'm hoping that this discussion I'm opening is let's either use this money to do the things such as parks. The police need additional funds for additional activities, whether it's mental health, is a mental health counselor to help their officers deal with somebody who's having a really bad domestic dispute and doesn't really need to be arrested and taken to jail. They just need somebody to sit there and talk them through their issue and resolve it for them. And so I'm concerned that we're going to lose sight of that as we're doing all these projects. The sawmill needs work, and we've been talking about for about 4 years now, and there's no further project. There's no further efforts being made right now to come up with sawmill money. So I think the board, as we're dealing with all the big stuff we got to deal with, can take a moment to say, let's get those bike trails here that we need so that people can walk and ride around town safely instead of dodging cars on North Avenue or being scared to go down Deep Lake Road because they're going to get hit like Jenny Lindstrom's dad did. We need to start focusing on our parks, our pedestrian walkways, our police department giving them the added extra stuff that they need, and not lose sight of that as we're trying to deal with all this other big stuff. If locking in the revenue does that, fine. If coming up with a way to keep that stuff on top another way, fine too. I just think we need to have that discussion. That's why I'm trying to generate the discussion.
All right. Discussion on this side.
I mean, what Trustee Pierce is saying does make sense. I think that in the past, a lot of things have, I'm not saying intentionally, been forgotten, but they do get forgotten. And now that we have these revenue streams coming in, I think that this is a good opportunity to make good on those things, to maintain our town and to, make sure that the police have what they need. So, I mean, I'm not against what Trustee Pierce is bringing before us tonight. So,
All right. Thank you, Trustee Bluthart.
I would be 1000% in support of taking all the revenue from the dispensaries and locking that in towards two arms. Half of that going to parks for the sole purpose of refurbishing or new development of parks, and the other half going to the police and for what programs that could be determined. I would be against gaming revenues because that's already an existing stream, and if you isolate that out, then how do we replace that $400,000 to $500,000 that are coming in now? So I would be against taking that money and using it for any specific things other than general budget issues. But the dispensary dollars, those are new. We don't know what they're going to be yet. And I mean, I have no idea. And maybe someone here does, maybe they don't. It could be $50,000. It could be a couple $100,000. We don't know. That being said, I think we have some time before we lock it in, but I'd rather lock it in now and know that money is going towards these issues that need to be resolved. I mean, we can't just keep hoping, because that's always the excuse when we don't do or fix a park. We don't have the funds available. There's projects that are more important or are in bigger need, and we're doing what we can on all those. But this is an opportunity for us that we don't get that often, of taking a new revenue source and targeting existing issues that the village has and has had and will continue to have. Because if we don't do this, we all know that money is not going to be used for those purposes. So I think this is an opportunity for us to lock it in on those. And obviously, we could always come back down the road in a situation, the administrative comment you talked about, if we are really hurting for revenues and we have to change this, we could adjust this down the road. But I think unless we lock it up to begin with, we won't have that option. So I would be 100% in favor of that. I think we should do this, and whatever we need to do to move this forward, I would be behind in support.
All right, thank you, trustee McNeil.
So I would love to thank Trustee Pierce for bringing this to our attention. I think it's a great idea. Something definitely to think about. These are all important issues. I'm nervous now. I haven't had the time this week to talk with finance. I would love to talk with Zeta more about, before pigeonholing money, kind of what our needs are, because I did my first tour. I'm kind of the last trustee to tour the public works facility. And I know that's another topic for another day, but just having Dennis show me how they work on the trucks with these old, jacks that are on the ground and that people are underneath there. I just have a lot of safety concerns about that. And I think it's a great discussion point. I'm open to maybe a certain percentage, but I would just love to sit down, maybe even if it's one of the quarterly meetings, and kind of look at our budget as a whole and, balancing what we really need to get done and what could we dedicate, if anything, once those needs are met to programs like this, which are all great ideas. So I appreciate that you brought this to the board's attention. Just think I need a little more discussion because I don't want to allocate money if we really need to get something else done that's kind of critical to the running of the village yet. That's all I have.
Do you want to hear my suggested buckets?
Sure.
Yes, I mean, I agree with you. If we're going to dedicate some of this money, I think, parks, police, or like the police pension fund are important sources. I'd like to see a portion of our budget continue to go into a reserve fund to get that annually up. And then, another small portion maybe to some type of counseling services for gaming or addictions or something, giving some of that money back for social services. But I think there's a wide range of what those things can be. But I think if we played it outright with the assistance of the administrator and the finance director, we could figure out, how to close some of those gaps and make sure the money's earmarked for certain things.
That's what I'm looking for. So let's find a way to close some gaps. Let's find a way to. I kind of like what Trustee Blueheart said. Maybe gambling is already.
And I think gambling's already,
the
covered.
marijuana's brand new.
Yeah.
So that's a thought, but we need to start the discussion somewhere.
Sure.
I will tell you that the county has designated $100,000 that they're distributing for gambling counseling. So maybe we could find something else and piggyback on the county. So,
Trustee Masek.
When the vote was taken, we said this. We said we're going to give so much to the police department. That was already decided when the initial vote to bring in marijuana.
Sorry, just you're talking about the initial when
The
they
initial vote,
back
yeah,
in 18 or 19 or whatever it was.
Yeah, so that was already said. We weren't gonna just throw this in the general fund. We were gonna put this so the police department, for all their extra work and effort because of the marijuana coming in, that we were gonna give a larger percentage of that money to the police department. So that was already decided when the vote. You gotta get the minutes and read the minutes. So if it's 50%, the other 50% go to parks, that's fine. But that was already during the vote, that was already decided that was not gonna be thrown in the general fund. So we could buy another $40,000 window. No disrespect to that window. I have disrespect to that window, but that can't go in the general fund. That's already been purposed through a vote. You gotta go back and read the vote from 2019.
All right, thank you. Trustee Peterson.
I think we should earmark some of it, but not all of it. We have things come up that we need to look at the clarifier. I mean, we have things happen in this village, and instead of panicking, we need to put this into some fund that we can go to if we really need something. If something happens, I know we have reserves, you know, and I'd like to see it go into reserve. We do have to address the parks. I've been talking about that, you know, since I got on this board. We really do need to put X amount of dollars in the budget for parks every year. And we've neglected that, but times were tough. Things are getting a little bit better. And like Trustee Bluthart said, we do have a new revenue source. I don't want to tie it all up though, because we do have emergencies come up and we really should have a reserve for something like that. But I like the La Casa. Do they have the counseling through the county for gambling? I think they're the only ones that do.
Yeah, I believe so.
So maybe we could do something with that.
Yeah. All right, so I think this is a great discussion. Oh, good.
I just want to follow up on what Trustee Peterson said, and Trustee Masek. We did discuss during the voting for marijuana, if I remember correctly, that it should be designated. It was brought up during the discussions. I don't think it was written into the ordinance, so I don't think it's enforceable, but I think this is our opportunity, as Trustee Bluthart says, to this is a new revenue stream. This is something we haven't had coming in. It just started, so we don't even know what we're going to get. So we couldn't plan on it before, but we could start seeing what it is. And the parks and the police desperately need additional funds. So does the rest of the village. But we've been surviving and surprisingly doing pretty good compared to a lot of communities with our car dealerships, with all the money they bring in on their sales tax revenue, with the business districts and what they're bringing in. We've been putting money in until we just started spending it on this park and the gazebo, and as Ed says, the $40,000 window, which I think both him and me voted against. So I think this is our chance. And we need to take that chance sometimes and do what's right for our park.
All right.
Because people need that. They need sometimes just get away from their house and walk out in the sunshine and say, damn, this is a nice place to live. Because it is.
I think we incorporate this into, I think I heard loud and clear that the budgeting process has to be a little different this year. So we'll work through that and incorporate this discussion into our budgeting process and have a dedicated budget meeting this year. So.
And Zeta should be brought into this.
Oh, of course.
Well.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I honestly think that this is something that we should deal with prior to the budget, because if we get to the budget stage and we're trying to figure out what to do with this money, I'll tell you right now, we're going to spend it somewhere else and we won't be able to lock it up.
You're talking about the money that may come in between now and May.
Well, the any money coming in from this, because once we get to that stage, we're either going to be, I think this is something that we should deal with sooner rather than later and lock this stuff up. And maybe what we do is, I mean, I don't want to use the term because it's misused in Washington, the lockbox for Social Security, which is never a lockbox, and they steal from and put IOUs in and everything else. I don't want to get it where this is the lockbox situation here of Antioch. I think we have so many needs, then we're meeting them now with our current budget. And I know we're always going to have issues that come up, but I think this is an opportunity to lock this new dispensary funds down and put it towards police and parks, which is where it should go. And we need the money in parks desperately, and this would give us a stream. Now, the thing is what we don't know is what we're talking about yet.
It'd have to be,
and that's going to be the interesting part, because we have a temporary, dispensary open. We're not going to make as much as when the original, the building's actually open and so forth. So this first 6 months year is not going to be over the top dollars to help our reserves or anything else. So I think it's going to be a small amount to start with, but I think we have to start somewhere.
And I don't know the turnaround time when that money's going to flow from the state back to us anyways.
Well, that's all the stuff we need to figure out.
All right. Good discussion. Yeah.
I just want to clarify one thing. The chief and I had talked, and I spoke too much. I did neglect to mention the act. There is a kratom, Kratom Control Act passed in 2015. Again, but it's very short. It doesn't regulate the field very much. There's been 18 to 21 years old is an issue. The original act was for 18, so you can buy kratom, but you can't buy alcohol, and it can be found at 720 ILCS 642. Again, there has been 5 attempts to amend it since then. So the one thing, and then I'll stop talking for the evening. The one thing that this is all new, and the regulations on it are all new and evolving as we speak.
Any executive session? Motion to adjourn? Motion trustee Pierce, second trustee Peterson, all in favor? Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 9:40.